So everybody's sitting in the cafeteria, and then they have a section just for people in lunch attention where you just sit at a table by yourself. Everybody's looking like, ooh, shit, like, what the fuck? What the fuck is she? And I'm just sitting there like, bro, I got lunch attention for singing the alphabet during class. Legitimately.
I had to give up Saturdays and after school. So lunch detention, whatever that detention is, I don't want
to humble brag. I don't want to humble brag here, but I never got detention, so
I should have never gotten detention.
I've never gotten detention either.
Some people did have to give up their Saturdays, but that's like if you did like some really bad stuff. That's something like
we're definitely gonna, not now, Jamie, but we're definitely gonna have a deep dive into your Breakfast Club disrespect. But anyway,
I have to watch the movie again. I don't even remember. I don't know if there's anything to remember, but I don't remember.
Oh my god. Okay. Welcome everybody to Welcome back, Jamie's gonna make me cry. I gotta go watch that movie again. Oh my god.
Let's watch Power Rangers.
I'd rather do that.
Yeah.
Trayvon, I almost just ended this Zoom. Don't say
they did a kind of Breakfast Club thing. So
no, just because they were in detention doesn't mean you can compare it to the Breakfast Club, Trayvon.
To be honest, I've never seen the Breakfast Club. I only see Power
Rangers. Oh my god, enough. Welcome back to another episode of the MCR. We've been gone for a while. So we're super glad to be back, and obviously Moon Knight is what brought us here tonight, the series premiere of Moon Knight. This show is insane. Humble brag, Tia got to see all of the episodes. She met the cast. She got flown out to go to the premiere of Moon Knight. Oscar Isaac hugged Tia, so like Tia got to do all these really cool things.
If only like half of that were true.
Oh, I was really going.
How you sold me? I was like, oh my god,
he did. He really did. I was okay, cool.
Like the only part of that was true was the screeners. Like the only part.
And Marvel flew Tia out. Marvel did fly Tia out. She's just being humble. But anyway, no, I want to introduce my panel before we get into this episode. You will see some new faces, some familiar faces in my face that you don't want to see going forward. But anyway, let's start off with welcoming back Tia. What's going on, Tia?
Hey, everyone. I feel like it's been forever, but I'm super excited to be here and talking about Moon Knight. And, you know, it's one of those things where you enjoy something and you're almost afraid to go to Twitter to see other people's reaction because it's like, do people enjoy this as much as I did? I'm happy that the overall reaction was a positive one to the first episode.
Yeah, I mean, again, I try my best, and I know this is hard to say because we're essentially reviewers ourselves, but I don't know. Sometimes there's just certain projects I know just the masses just won't truly understand. And that's when you get those low ratings like 65 and you're just like, you gave it a 65. Like, what did you watch that I didn't? Like, I don't understand. So sometimes it's a stressful thing for me to ever see what a critic has to say. Very stressful. But definitely glad to have you back on the MCR, Tia. Welcoming back also is Trevon. What's up, Trevon?
Everybody, happy to be here. Can't wait to talk about this. 65 is a way off for me for this episode anyway. Yeah, so
65 is not way off for you, is what you just said?
No, it's not. Go ahead. Let's move on to the next person.
Okay, just know you're starting. You're starting.
Okay.
Right.
Trayvon is a tough nut to crack, I have to say. Of all the MCRs, it's like, we'll be like, oh my God, da, 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 and Trayvon's like, I have thoughts.
That's Trayvon's catchphrase. If Trayvon were to start a sitcom, that would be his catchphrase. He just walk in the room and go, I've got thoughts. And it's like, oh my God, what, Trayvon? It's not bad. I just got thoughts. I just got some thoughts.
Would the title of the show be "This Isn't the Power Rangers"?
Yes, that would be the title of Trayvon.
Either that or like, I don't see anybody flying.
Yes.
I love you, man.
Yes, 100%. And yeah, that.
I think I have valid points when you get to me. We'll see.
Okay. All right. Look, they're gonna have to be. They're gonna have to be, Trevon, because to agree with a 65, that's okay. Also welcoming back Patches. What's going on, Patches?
What's going on, guys? It's good to have the MCR back up and running again. I already see people from the Kind of Nerdy Network chiming in on YouTube and everything else. So it's excited to see everyone and excited to get ready and getting everyone's opinions about the debut of Moon Knight.
Absolutely. And also welcoming back is Jamie. What's going on, Jamie?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about this. Wednesdays, I don't know why everything seems to happen on Wednesday. And that's like one of my longest class days. So I'm always passing out after I come back from class. So Moon Knight is an interesting show to like briefly blink out on and wake up because those like crazy things are constantly happening. So definitely went back and rewatched those. So don't worry, I was fully conscious for a full episode viewing. So I'm excited.
Absolutely. That's funny you said that. I still can't get used to this coming out on a Wednesday. Like it's still this on a Wednesday, Halo on a Thursday. It's like you guys are afraid to just put everything out on Friday and just have
Bel Air.
Winner takes all. You know what I'm saying? Let winner take all for Friday. Just put it all out Friday. It gives us the weekend, right, to kind of soak it all in. They just do not appreciate that we work, school, everything. They're just like, who cares? Get home, review me. And it's like, well, damn, what about my life? They don't care. And I want to introduce two newcomers to the MCR, starting with Jayla. What's going on, Jayla?
Not much. I am so excited. I'm a massive nerd, and we're getting into my favorite area of the comics. So I can't believe I'm sitting here talking about Moon Knight, a Moon Knight show. This is wild. I'm excited.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Never would have guessed they're going for Moon Knight in the best way possible, though.
I didn't believe it. And I remember when they casted Oscar, I remember it felt like forever before they confirmed it. Like the major trades confirmed it, but like Oscar didn't come out and say anything. Marvel, Feige, no one said anything. And then out of nowhere, Oscar Isaac was just like, yeah, by the way, I'm Moon Knight. And it was just like, that's not something you casually drop, Oscar. Like, we got to roll out red carpets. I got to call my therapist. Like, a whole bunch of things have to happen. You can't just casually drop
therapist.
That. Yeah, I got to do the whole rollout because it's about to get crazy now that we got Oscar Isaac in the MCU. But next, last but definitely not least, probably the only person with a PhD in Moon Knight, is the Moon Knight superfan himself, Blake. What's going on, Blake?
What makes you think I like Moon Knight? It's just
I don't know.
Casual hobby.
I'm guessing. Is there a massive stack of Moon Knight comics that you might have right nearby also?
Oh, God. It's funny that you ask that.
Could that be the case?
It's just a little stack of No comics.
Just a few, right? Stack. Like just a little bit, right? Yeah, I don't know
just
where.
Just a little stack of light reading material. No, I enjoy Moon Knight quite a bit, and I really enjoyed that first episode. I think it was a great start into introducing this character, and like Jayla said, it's also my favorite part of Marvel and just comic books, that horror aspect. So I'm glad they're finally embracing that, and I think it was a very safe start, and we'll see where it goes from here. Yeah,
I mean, absolutely. Look, me and Tia, when we were watching the screeners, there was a point where we both texted each other and just like, oh my God, like, what are we even watching? What is this beauty? Like, what is this? Like, how dare they just drop this beauty on us like that?
Yeah, so, I even got to ask Oscar Isaac himself, like in person when, Disney flew me out.
Right. That's what the deleted scene is. Like, they didn't show it, but when his date didn't show up, Tia showed up.
Oh, okay. I showed up.
With him. It was a deleted scene. It'll be dropped later this year, but that happened. But no, so let's get right into it. Just a brief overview, because I know a lot of people might have saw it earlier today, didn't get a chance to go back. So obviously we open with our main villain, Arthur, with a very weird opening, really. We're so used to it starting with our hero, getting kind of, adjusted with our hero. It starts with the villain. Very weirdly is breaking up glass to put in his shoe. and then put his feet in those said shoes with all that said glass. And it's kind of one of those, like, I don't know what the fuck is going on here. It's about to get wild. And then obviously we go to Steven. Obviously, Steven is the one we start off with. And we see that Steven is having some sleeping issues, to say, I guess is how we would put that.
Wait, you mean everyone doesn't like sleep while shackled to the bed and like their doors taped up? Because that's news to me.
That is a personal question, and I will ask you to stay out.
I don't think you can ask us that. Yeah, I don't think you can ask us that. I personally do, but you can't ask me. Anyway, so we see obviously Steven is going through some things. I love the shot of his fish. Because the first time I saw it, I didn't really pay attention to the fish. I might have been looking down for a second. So later in the episode where he's freaking out about the fish, I'm like, all right, where the fuck did this fish come from? So watching it again, I was like, okay. So they did show you the fish with the fin missing. And then we see Steven heading to work, and that's when things get pretty interesting. By the way, a lot of people are saying they hate his boss. I love his boss. I love her. I would love to have friends with her. She said
you would never want to work with someone like that.
I would.
I would cry.
She was on
I
his
cussed at her
ass,
within like
all
10
the
minutes of her being on screen.
She was so mean to him.
She was that type of boss that everyone talks about, who just doesn't even see you as like a human being. Take these down, Steven. Go do this, Steven. You know,
I was surprised she said please, to be honest with you.
It was not a nice please.
All I'm gonna say is this.
Oh, for sure.
I recall, and I could be remembering the episode wrong. I recall she was upset he was late. Was he or was he not late? He was late. She deserved to be upset. Okay, so let's lay off her a little bit. Okay, all right. Okay, all right.
I mean, like
he was late.
Been in a car accident. His mom had been sick. She didn't ask, oh, why are you late? Like, what's going on? Like, you could have called. She said, you're late again, Steven. Take these downstairs, Steven.
Juwaan, that's how you
ugly, Steven. You'll never be a tour guide.
That's how you foster a toxic workplace.
It is.
First of all,
that is a proper pragmatist. Let's just, I mean, come on.
Look, that's how I talk to AJ every episode. And you guys aren't going to get me to change how I talk to AJ. So that's just
different with AJ.
Hey, AJ.
That's not happening.
You're wrong, AJ. What do you think about this? AJ.
That's
AJ.
normal,
you be quiet for a minute, AJ.
If you can do it also in a British accent.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God.
The accent.
I'm working on the accent, Thea. I'm working on the accent. I want to go full character.
Dude, I would love for you to go like full Cockney on that, man. It'd be awesome.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try it. The next episode, I will go full. I'll go full. So obviously we see things kind of progress in Steven's life. I think the most notable thing is when the lady's just like, "Are we still good for dinner?" And he's just like, "Haha, yeah. Wait, what? Like, hold on. Wait, what? Yeah, I guess." And obviously we progress to where Steven wakes up in the middle of nowhere. And he is, I think, the most adorable thing in MCU history is when he looks up at the guy and waves, and the guy's just like, "Hello," and then the guy leans over and goes, "What are you doing? Like, shoot him!" And he's like, "Oh yeah."
Like, sorry, mate.
Yeah, he was just like, "Sorry," and it's just like, "No, you're supposed to be shooting him. Why would you wave?" And obviously we see things play out, and then we get a better look at our main villain. And now they drastically change this character for this show. The balances of life and everything, none of that was ever that character. And as someone who knows that villain, this is a very interesting way to go. It makes him way more interesting than what the counterpart was.
I have a question with the character of Arthur. Is it true that I read that he's only in like one issue?
Yeah, he was a very short character.
It's interesting that they decided to pick him, for the show.
I actually like it. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, I think that's probably fitting considering like this is Moon Knight's introduction, and so like having like I guess like a short standoff just to establish like, hey, Moon Knight's here. He's kick-ass, like, all that jazz, and then move on to, or maybe integrate him into like some of the more bigger Marvel projects or like Avenger level stuff. I feel like That works. I don't want to see him walk on glass after this.
Or to play counterpoint to that too, if it's a character that's, granted, just like a lot of people here, like I'm a newbie to Moon Knight. And so I'm excited about all this stuff. But to play counterpoint to what you were saying, Jamie, if this is a character who's only in one episode, then that's actually a blank canvas for Marvel and for Feige and all, everyone involved to just like, okay, well, we could expand and build on anything we want with this guy. I mean, hell, this could be a reoccurring villain. This could be, it could be whatever we want as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's exactly what I was about to say. It takes a character that Kevin doesn't then have to worry about people nitpicking about, right? Because if you know Moon Knight and you know Arthur, you didn't give a damn about Arthur like what, 8 months ago, a year, 2 years ago when this was announced. You didn't give a shit about Arthur. Who cared about Arthur, right? So when you bring him in, you can do all the changes you want and no one really has any nitpicks because it was a character that was like that, in and out, and we know Feige loves that. He loves to change characters. He loves to alter them, make them better, sometimes make them worse. He just likes the freedom. And this is a character he has all the freedom he needs. So obviously we see, by the way, shout out to Arthur. That was a really slick move where the guard says, I think he's still here. And then he just shouts something and everyone kneels and Steven's just
that was smooth.
Like, let me kneel. Like that was a perfect way to just kind of like smoke him out where it's like, I knew it. You're still here. And then what the most fun I had in the episode is obviously when we see Steven escape in the cupcake truck, and he just keeps passing in and out. And obviously, go ahead, Tim.
I'm sorry, I felt so bad for Steven. Can you imagine you like blink and then all of a sudden there's just a bunch of dead bodies by your feet and everything? It's like, oh, this poor man.
I mean,
it was a great way to do that, like to integrate more violence into say a Marvel project while still keeping it kind of clean. Like we know what happened to him, we see the blood, you can make the connection. Exactly.
I do want to
say I'm surprised you didn't freak out even more after seeing the bodies. Like I would have been like, oh my god.
He's very
Speaking of the violence, that little scarab, I haven't seen anybody point this out, so I don't know if I'm on about it, but the scarab is a little ball, and at one point it has wings that comes out, and if you notice when he's being wrestled for the first time before he blacks out, there are no wings. It's just the scarab.
Yeah.
And then when he wakes up, the wings are out with blood all over that hand.
Yeah.
So I was like, did he like cut their throats with
100%.
that thing?
He had to.
There's so much blood there. I'm like, we didn't see it happen because it's Marvel, it's Disney and all that. But the implications are pretty dark. And I was surprised. I was like, really? That's a neat little detail because that is how ruthless Moon Knight is. I'm glad to see they kept that.
Go ahead, Jayla.
I just want to note that I love how disoriented this whole episode feels. I think it's a great introduction to Moon Knight, introduction to how he was feeling, the way it kind of and basically put us in his shoes, and we got to discover things as he did instead of just blatantly showing us. I really appreciated that. And Blake, I have a question for you. That the girl that he was talking to in the beginning, and she mentioned what it was like being dead or something like that. Any info on that? Because she seems suspicious to me.
I caught that on, I think, my third viewing, which I was kind of ashamed of. But I finally like really listened to what the little girl said. He was explaining that that ritual and it's exactly what Arthur Harrow's tattoos mean. The whole when you die, they would take your heart out, put it on a scale, and weigh it with a feather. And if it weighs more than the feather, you'd be fed to Amut, which is who Arthur Harrow is, his master basically is. Right. So he told that story to the little girl, and she said, then how does it feel being rejected? And he said, well, nothing, because I'm not dead, am I? And then he thought about it and said, am I? Mm-hmm. And if you know the Moon Knight lore, without getting into too many specifics, Mark Spector did die and is resurrected as Moon Knight. So we will explore that more down the line, but that's some hardcore foreshadowing.
I was seeing if you caught that, because I was like, oh, wait a second. Hang on.
That's one of my favorite scenes there.
Oh, it was great.
Is it safe to say little girl's Mephisto confirmed?
Yes, exactly where I was going with that.
I really feel like there's something, maybe not Mephisto, but there's something going on with that little girl.
Blake,
that was pretty direct.
It's Mephisto. Stop.
It's Mephisto.
You're right.
I was trying to tell him that he
Guys,
was
let's
actually
mark the
dead at
tape.
one point.
We're officially 20 minutes into the first MCR of Moon Knight, and we have our first Mephisto blast. Thank you.
When Mephisto actually happens, we're not going to believe it.
Anyway,
Oh, Juwaan, I love you so much.
so anyway, so we see him kind of just going in and out. Then the best part, he just wakes up. He wakes up and he's like, was this all a dream? Like, was this like he was happy to believe that it was just a dream?
Right.
Like it never happened. He was just dreaming it up. And then obviously the saddest part, not only about the episode, but about I think dissociative disorder, I believe is dissociative identity disorder.
Yes. Yeah.
PID.
Yes. What I appreciated them diving into was the moment he realized, like when she told him, like, lose my number, that was a few days ago. You know what I'm saying? And he started crying to himself because he was trying to sit there and like really think about how the last thing he remembered was setting up the date. And now the date has already come and gone. And he kind of had that moment where he's sitting there and he's just like, what is happening to me? Like, what happened?
And
go ahead.
Really quick, two things. Like going into more of what you were saying, how sad that was for him and how he was kind of really reflecting on just being sort of, I don't want to say a mess, but just for lack of better words, a mess. How he just is like, even like, I'll have a steak. He's a vegan and he's like, I'll have a steak. But I also wanted to say, did we think that she was a little too harsh in that? Like, I was like,
I did.
When she was like, lose my number. And it's like, you don't know what could have happened. Maybe he was in the hospital, you know, maybe he was in like, if something bad happened, to be like, lose my number. It's like, be like, hey, you know, you okay there? I don't know. I just felt like she was being a little too harsh there.
You guys give the best bail I've ever seen for Steven. You guys are bailing him out a lot with his boss, even though he was late. With his date, even though he was late. Like
2 days late.
I guess it's because like we're seeing the journey from Steven's perspective. But now that I think about it, like if I had a date with some dude and they just like didn't show up, didn't call, whatever, then 2 days later he's like, hey, you ready to go on the date? I've been like, what the hell? Like that was 2 days ago. Like, what are you talking about?
And again,
I would have been like, lose my number though.
I think that was like a little harsh, you know.
And again, I think if you look at it from her point of view, it was kind of like he was playing coy, right? Like he was like, no, Friday comes after Thursday, and she's like, yeah, well, Saturday. So you know, so like if you're her, you're like, you didn't call me, you blew me off, and now you're making up like you don't even know what day it is. So for her, it's like, no, lose my number. But for us, because we actually know it happened, we want to shoot him some bail. But I understand her completely. Lose my number.
Well, maybe I'm a better person, but like if you like on the other end of the phone, like him being completely like in shock and like, but it's Friday. You know, like I would have been concerned. It's like, are you okay? I wouldn't have gone full on bitch and be like,
it's
you
like,
know,
it's like you
toss
sound
my number in the Tim's ass.
It's like you sound really distressed right now. Like, are you okay?
Maybe she thought
exactly.
Maybe just being a asshole. Maybe she was like, "Are you just trying to be funny?"
Right? Because I think if I was in person and he did that, I'm with you, Patches. But over the phone, it very likely could be him just like, all right, like let me throw something out there to like she can forget. You know what I'm saying?
I'm just more concerned about human welfare than you.
Look what we're seeing.
Are you
making me think like, how did Mark treat her to the point where she was like, oh, like this guy is like a cheeky guy, you know, like he would do something like that. I feel like if you just watch like Steven, like I don't think Steven would be the kind of guy that just like blow a girl off. Like I feel like he'd be the kind of guy like when he realized he had a date.
Well, Steven didn't ask.
No, but
I have a date.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I can't have a girlfriend that got a shackle on my bed. Like, oh my god, this is crazy. You know, so I feel like he wouldn't have taken it for granted.
The person that asked her on the date, I don't think was like him. I think it was,
it was Mark.
It was
more of a suave. player kind of guy. I think that asked that.
I don't know how she didn't
What?
catch that either, to be honest with you. Like, one guy shows up like, hey baby, what's up? The other one's like, oh my god, you're asking me on a date. Like, how did she not tell the difference? Like, wait, what's going on?
I mean, she
So it'd be,
could have
like,
just thought he
accent
was trying to be
difference.
like cute or whatever. Like, she probably just didn't overthink
Maybe.
it.
I don't know.
But all right, so obviously after that date happens, Steven heads back home, where he notices some scratches on the ground, sets up the table, opens it, where he finds a phone and a key. Calls the phone, where
A very old phone, by the
A
way.
razor.
A razor.
But see, that's
Mm.
how you know Mark's background is when you see phones like that. There are only two kinds of people that have old phones like that. Only two kinds of people. You're either something with killing people or you're a drug dealer. There's only two people that have phones like that. But anyway, so, which by the way, I did want to ask, is it safe to feed fish chocolate crumbs? Like, that was the
No.
first thing.
There
I
were
thought.
sprinkles.
Not at all.
I thought that.
But
I'm
no,
like,
it is not either.
I didn't think so, because I'm
Yeah.
like, somewhere a kid's watching is just like, I always wondered if I could give my fish real people stuff. It's like, no,
I
I
don't-
ha-
assumed the
I
fish was
have
gonna die
fish.
after that.
I have fish, and you are not supposed to do that.
okay, I
Oh
didn't think
man.
Just- I just-
Like, I already
have-
did
I don't
it.
have pets.
Dang it.
So obviously, so he calls, and that's where we're introduced to Layla, just her voice for the first time. And look, Layla asked all the questions you guys thought his date should have asked over the phone. Like, why are you playing so dumb? What is happening? Like, what's going on? And Steven is just like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Like, I don't know what's going on here. So I'm gonna move it along. So obviously, Steven goes through that. Obviously, the whole elevator thing, where he sees Conchu, and it turns out it's just that old lady. By the way, I don't know how that old lady moves so fast to catch up to that that goddamn elevator. I don't know what kind of stuff is going on with that old lady, but something's up.
She really
She's in
didn't
a
want to take
hurry.
the stairs.
She moves fast as hell. I mean, like, goodness
She's
gracious.
gone.
But I do love the look of Conchu. Conchu looks really, really, really good. Like, really, really, really good. I will say, Blake, the one thing I do hope we do see at some point is suited up Conchu.
Yes, I
I
was
love that.
worried they wouldn't even do the beak skull
Right.
design for him, because that's actually a fairly recent design when it comes to Conchu. But
Mhm.
not seeing him in this suit, I'm okay with, because they did go with his more Egyptian garb with the staff and everything. I feel like the more down the line we get, he'll be in a suit at some point once he's more familiar. But
I hope so.
As
Even if it's not this season, just going forward, those two kind of being like partners within his head,
mhm.
and then seeing him in a suit and then Conchu in the suit, and it's just like, that just look awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
But I did want to say really quickly, Blake, because I know you would know this. That street performer was not just a regular street performer.
It was Crawley, yeah.
Yes, in the comics, that character actually was like an informant for Moon Knight on the streets. He was a homeless guy that would report stuff to Moon Knight.
A
So
very
I'm
key
hoping that
player
some-
in the Jeff Lemire comic run.
I'm
is
so
where
embarrassed
most
how
people
long
know
it
it
took me
from.
to realize it was a person, not an actual statue.
Oh, that's
Oh,
what
yeah.
we were talking
Good job,
about.
I was like,
You did a good job.
oh, okay, he's talking to a person. Okay.
Right.
I'm kind of
You did a good
surprised he
job,
didn't like shoot him away. I would have been like, yo, bro, like,
Well, no, he was helping him out, because you remember the couple that took the picture. He was like, "Hey, make sure you tip," and like they did give him a tip. So you know,
Mhm.
look out
yeah, I guess.
Look out for
I
him.
don't know. Is it worth the
Um,
few like 2 dimes that he got though?
for someone that looks like he was getting nothing up until that point. Yes, I'm sure he looked at it like that's something for the day.
Not getting paid, and you have to listen to the burdens of this man.
right, exactly. Also something to keep an eye out for is Steven was often talking to his mom, but you
Yes.
never really heard a voice on the
supposedly.
There
There
were two
There
things
were
there. He's on the
voicemails.
phone and the postcards that he's getting.
right in the postcards too. Right.
If
So
you
that's
pay
just something-
attention, those same postcards that he put up is at his work.
yes,
So
exactly. Yep.
the speculation is that they are not coming from his mother, obviously. If he's even talking to anybody, he's probably just leaving voicemails.
No, he
That
is in
were-
fact. That was the one thing that I did notice. I was like, he's just leaving a voicemail, and like
Mhm.
both times that he talked, it was like, all right, cool, bye. Like the way he ended the conversation, It was all voicemail. So he's talking to a beep.
Right.
Aw.
So then we see which was definitely like a crazy moment. Steven just wakes up already on the bus. He's like, what the fuck happened? And then obviously we see as he jumps off the bus, we see Arthur, he goes into work. Then we see that Arthur's crew is kind of all around the museum. And then the part that I enjoyed a lot is when Arthur puts the cane up to Steven's arms. And then he's like, there's some chaos in you. And what I loved about that was with his disorder, he does truly believe in the other manifestations of himself enough to where the cane doesn't really know what to balance him, because there is the Mark Spector that's the killer that clearly is the evil in him. And then there is the Steven that's such a beautiful spirit. So the cane's just like, it's like I'm testing two different people, right? So it couldn't balance.
It's two extremes.
Right. And not to mention, Khonshu is technically in him. So then it really just throws everything off to where it's like, all right, I don't know what the fuck is happening here.
He has issues. He needs therapy.
Right.
Well,
right.
and I really loved that scene, especially in the second go around when I watched it today. Just how perfectly acted it was. Ethan Hawke and Oscar Isaac have this great dynamic with each other, and just the way that Ethan Hawke was delivering his lines, able to really keep up the suspense and this eeriness where and especially we've established already what Arthur can do when the scales are weighted, right? When they weigh heavier than a feather. And so you almost in that moment are a little hesitant of what is going to be the result here. And then when you start seeing the symbol on his arm go red, you're wondering, how is Arthur going to react to this? And him just saying, there's a chaos in you. It threw me off balance because I didn't know how Arthur was going to react to that.
Yeah, and I want to give the showrunner, the writers, the camera crew a lot of credit, because two of my favorite shots in the MCU shows so far to date is the shot where he's walking through and his reflection is still there, but you see his reflection sees what's behind him. And then when you get to the bathroom scene, which, by the way, I've been to a few museums, their bathrooms never look that nice. So shout out.
They're never that big. They're never that nice.
Right. Never, ever that.
They made it just big enough so you could find a jackal in there.
Yes, exactly. And even then, it still didn't seem like a jackal. And then what I loved the most is when you see Steven talking to Mark within the mirror. What I loved, there's two things I loved about it. The first thing that I loved was the continuous loop that the camera took of that shot. And then the second thing was, if you look closely, when he relinquishes control to Mark and Mark starts to transform, in the mirror, there is no transformation happening. So you see it happening to the physical body, but the mirror doesn't show it happening at all. So you kind of go is this in my head now? I know the character is somewhat crazy, but am I imagining what I'm seeing? So I love how they pulled that off. And then obviously, by the way, if you're a monster and you're just all right, I'm about to fuck this guy up, and then he transforms and you're just how am I getting my ass kicked now? No one warned me he could do this.
I was trying to crawl outside the door, help
yeah, he was I gotta get the hell up out of here.
That was classic fight sling. Nope.
He was
right back in, whoop his ass. Yeah.
And like I told you, Joel, before, as I welcome you in, Joel, as I told you before, I think if the more I see the suit in continuous play, in the flow of the show, the more that I could just wrap my head around it more. And it really is growing on me. I cannot lie to you. It is slowly starting to grow on me. I can't lie. I was not a fan of it. Obviously, I wanted Moon Knight to visually look more like Trevon's Moon Knight behind him. But what they're doing here, I can't continue to hate on it, man. I really like it. I really do. The cape, by the way, really kind of complements the whole suit together. That cape is fucking beautiful. But all right, so we went through the episode. Trevon, I want to start off with you because you got some stuff to say. So I'll start off with you. What were your thoughts on this first episode of Moon Knight?
It's not the Power Ranger.
No pressure.
Sorry, I
ahead,
am a smoker,
Trevon.
so
Go ahead.
I am a cough.
ahead.
So my bad.
Okay, so I did appreciate how they were showing the disorder that he has. I thought that was really done well. The acting was really done well. The thing I didn't like about it was I'm hoping this gets fixed in like the next episode. I'm hoping we see I was really upset every time the action was about to happen, it would cut and it was just show him like it's just something happened before that we didn't get to see any of it. I'm like, okay, I get it. The other guy took over. It's almost like Marvel was like, okay, we can't show this kind of violence. I'm like, I want to see this action that he's doing supposedly. Like I want to see these people getting laid out, these fights. I want to see all of that. I think that I got annoyed every time that happened. I was like, how many times they're gonna cut this thing? And we're just gonna see him just stand there like oblivious, like, oh my God, what happened to me? I blanked out. I don't want to blank out with you. I want to see it. like I was like, I'm tired of blanking out with you. I'm hoping what happens in the like coming up, maybe we see opposite side. Like we see what Mark is doing, hopefully. And hopefully we don't get a whole 6 episodes or wherever this is of just a whole bunch of cuts like that. Like
Just really quickly, Trevon, to that. The importance of that in this first episode is for people unfamiliar with Moon Knight. It's to generate the question of what is real and what isn't, right? So if he keeps flashing in and out, it's to build for the audience to like, is this Steven doing this? Like, is this Mark doing this? What's actually happening? But I can tell you, Marvel does not shy. I think we forget Falcon and Winter Soldier. Again, didn't show it coming down on the guy, but they didn't shy away from showing all that blood on the shield. So I'm like, they don't shy away from it. And obviously we got 5 more episodes to go. But they very much wanted to just create the conversation of what's real and what's not. And the more you show it like that, the more it's a question of, is he doing it and forgetting? Or is it like a whole nother personality doing it? It's kind of just figuring it out with Steven. So they want to take you on a ride with Steven rather than taking you on a ride where it's like, all right, here's Steven, now here's Mark, right? It's more
and they're setting up the mental break as well. Right. Like, especially because you got to remember, like, I'm gonna just take a wild guess because I'm one of them of like probably 98% of people that are watching this show on Disney Plus have no idea who the hell Moon Knight is, right? So like you've got to set that tone for that mental break. Well, all right, you got to see it from one side, and then hopefully you get the payoff to see it from the other side. But even if you don't, what's left to that imagination is like, oh my God, like you see the aftermath. How vicious is this bastard?
Well, also, they're showing you how important to them Steven is. That's already different. When you read Moon Knight, you have Mark, and then you find out about other versions. But they're starting it to where they want you to kind of get to know Steven first. Get to know Steven, accept this character. So to kind of have it just continuously go back and forth could throw someone off that's trying to just understand the story itself. So they're giving you Steven. Like I said, there's 5 more. I can guarantee you will see other sides going forward. But for now, they just want you to understand who Steve is. Steven, sorry.
And also, I just want to point out that this is also, say, a different depiction of a like fictional version, a superhero version of dissociative identity disorder. Maybe people who are unfamiliar with, and forgive me if I'm saying it, the mental condition. Maybe if you are familiar seeing it in a superhero comic book space, you're used to seeing it with Crazy Jane from Doom Patrol, where she's aware of what's going on and we're aware of what's going on. We see everything, but that's not this, and maybe this confusion is a little closer related to maybe how the disorder works in real life.
Right. Oh, go ahead, Jayla. Go ahead.
I think it's also a great way to introduce Mark from someone who's learning who Mark is himself in a weird way. So it's a great device, a great storytelling device to be able to put the audience in the main character's shoes while still introducing this new character to the MCU.
Right.
Great camera work too.
I know, yeah.
Beautiful camera work. And as you know, Blake, they actually went back and forth during the creation of Moon Knight up until now of how he became this way. Because when he was first created, there wasn't the multiple personalities until Khonshu got it.
Very little that we know about Moon Knight today was there from the start.
Right.
Just from the start was mercenary Mark Spector. That is pretty much it, the bare bones of who he is.
Right. And then down the line is when they went more so digging into the mental aspect of it. And then
they did, here's Khonshu, he gets resurrected. And then another writer would be like, is Khonshu real or not? Let's make it ambiguous. Some writers would be like, here's your answer. Some will be like, it's up to you. And that's why he's such a compelling character, is he's been messed with over the years. And I'm glad we're getting an even new interpretation with this show.
I mean, like, even it's funny. I'm going to pass it right back to you, Trevon. It's funny because I think the 2014 run, there was even like there's even a moment where he shows up as Mr. Knight, and the cops are like, "Oh my God, we have to arrest him." And the one cop is like, "No, there's a difference. That's not Moon Knight. That's Mr. Knight. We have to arrest Moon Knight." And it's just like even the people don't even really understand who the hell this guy really is enough to even arrest him. So they just want to really dig into who is he on the surface. And I think you have to kind of space it out. Hello, Sabrina. You kind of have to space it out like that to be able to do it. But I'm sorry. Go ahead, Trevon.
Let's see what else I want to say.
That's funny to you. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Trevon.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I think that's really all I did not get a lot from this episode. I was like, the acting's great. Like you talking about the blood, you see it on his hands, cool. Like we know something happened. I'm like, okay, I want to see that. That's just me. That's how I feel about it. I don't know. I get, everybody else is, loving it, I guess, but I just,
it was just like, okay. I get wanting to see it. It's just that I think that perhaps we need to be a little realistic about what Disney will do, even though they are introducing a serious character, a violent character with, a horror aspect. There's still going to be a limit to what they're going to show, because in the end, they still want kids to watch this show.
Oh, see, okay, so that was my other thing with, I think, going into this show, them announcing the parental controls and adding all the Netflix shows on right before gave me an indication that this show would be more brutal.
I kept trying to tell you.
I think it's gonna be.
They shouldn't have done that to me. They shouldn't have done that to me.
But that's projecting.
I'm thinking Punisher.
That's just projecting.
Yeah. Look, I just had this conversation with my dad.
Or Daredevil.
I just had this conversation with my dad. My dad just saw Spider-Man No Way Home for the first time. And I was like, "Oh, so what were your thoughts?" And he was like, "Man, I don't know. I think I shouldn't have seen Batman first." And I'm like, "Where is he going with this?" And he's like, "Oh, Batman was so well done, and Spider-Man was too comic booky." And I'm like, "You're talking about two drastically different worlds here.
That's true.
Two different feels of a movie." So I'm like, what Netflix was able to do is you weren't trying to expand yourself to a larger audience. You were trying to expand yourself to a specific demographic. You go to something.
I'm sorry, I just see Patches like bursting at the seams right now.
I mean, go ahead, Patches. Go ahead.
No, this is the MCR. I'm
gonna say one more thing.
This is the Marvel Cinematic Review.
This
is
transformation.
Oh yeah,
that's all I got.
Keep it MCR. Go ahead, Trey.
I was just saying I like the transformation at the end. Like the coming on like Sailor Moon. Yeah, bro, and that's it. Man, go ahead. Yeah, we're good.
All I'm saying is, Trevon, I would agree with you if this was episode 5 and that's all we got for 5 episodes. Episode 1, it's just a table setter. It's just a table setter. It's like when they bring you.
I know nothing about this character. I'm just going
No,
off
no,
of
no, no.
literally
I'm just saying.
it.
I'm just saying. It's the
Oh,
equivalent of like when they
I know
bring you the
nothing.
bread. When they bring you the bread at a restaurant, you don't go, "Oh, the food's horrible here." That's only the bread. You only just got the bread.
Hey, sometimes I just eat the bread.
Let them bring you the
Dude, that is
Especially
a
if it's out.
great
Yeah, some people just get
analogy.
full,
That was an
on the
awesome
bread.
Analogy, well done, sir.
Because I mean, no, because a lot of times, a lot of people judge the meal off of how the bread was. Like, oh, this bread wasn't good, so my steak's about to be horrible. No, they don't make the bread with the steak.
I wouldn't say
Like,
that's
this
an
bread-
outlandish assumption,
you.
you know? Like, they bring you some really dry, stale bread. You're like, they aren't taking care of the food back there, you know?
No, but like,
you could
yeah,
just
I
do a
don't.
horrible job with bread. Like, your steak could be slamming. You did a horrible job with the bread.
How do you mess up bread?
I mean, a lot of people
Mess up
could.
bread.
A lot of people could. I've seen a lot of burnt eggs in my life.
You know, I completely understand. You just need to be sold on it. You're not. They haven't given you enough to be like sold on the idea
Right.
because it's a weird concept. But hopefully, when
Mhm.
episode 2 comes, you'll be a little more into it, though.
Hope so.
Yeah.
I get it.
I mean,
though. I get it.
Again, it's episode 1. Let's see how
Yeah,
you feel
yeah.
by 3. Let's see. I always say give it 3. Let's see how you feel by 3.
Yeah, it's a marathon, not a sprint,
It's
man.
not. It's Marvel. I'm not gonna stop. So
I know that.
At least you're
I
honest.
know that.
anything
Yeah.
superhero I watch. So whatever.
I get
Well,
you
I'm not-
there, but
Yeah,
you know,
so-
just don't feel like they're sliding you. You know what I'm saying?
Yet.
Don't
Yeah.
feel like they're sliding you.
Yeah.
They're not sliding you. They're not.
Finish it first.
Trayvon's really hoping that Moon Knight flies at some point.
I just want to see the blood come out of somebody.
I mean, you see him like
You
jump
just
from like
really
roof
want
to
to
roof
see
in the
someone
promo,
stab.
right?
You're just like,
I'm just
man,
saying, the
I
hand was
want
covered.
someone's
I want to
guts
see that.
everywhere.
Oh my
And
god!
if we're
I
lucky,
got
his
nothing.
mom's named Martha
Watching horror
too.
movies like that. He does.
Um,
he does a lot of
On
blood.
the game said a little bit ago that there are like a few videos of Oscar Isaac doing some choreography like as Moon Knight. I'm assuming fight choreography. That would be weird if he just started dancing, but
I'm not
He has
mad.
done
so
that in
we'll
a few
probably
movies.
get to see
He
it.
has done that in a few movies.
I'd
now.
watch it.
The dancing.
I'd watch it.
So-
Would any of you turn down watching Oscar Isaac dance?
He can do,
No.
I watch him do
I
anything.
would.
I mean, he
He can do
danced in
anything.
Ex Machina. It was great.
Yes, he does.
Sure did.
Yes, he
Yep.
does.
That was the best scene of that movie too.
All right, so let's move on. I want to pass it to you, Blake. What were your thoughts on this episode?
I agree with the analogy that this is just like the bread at a restaurant. And even piggybacking off of the whole cutting away during the fights, which is one of my personal favorite parts of this episode. I love how they did that. And it's definitely not going to be like that for the whole show, because right now they're still trying to keep the identities a mystery. So we're not even supposed to know what's happening when he's blacking out. Like if there's even another person or anything. Like Marvel is really approaching this as if you have never even heard of Moon Knight, and they're going to slowly give you all the pieces of this very convoluted character. So at some point, when Mark gets the steering wheel to the Moon Knight car, we're going to see how these bodies drop, and that's what really entices me. And I expected this episode to shy away from the violence and just give us teases, and I still think I ended up getting more than I expected. And I was hoping the ending would close with that fight in the bathroom, because that is our first that was our first look at Moon Knight in the trailer, and that's our first look at him in the show. And I noticed they cut the flash of him in the mirror when he was talking to Mark in the bathroom, and that upset me at first, but then seeing the real debut of Moon Knight in that final shot of the episode, I was like, okay, that's why they cut it. That was a much better first look at the costume, first look at the person. So I was more than happy with this as a premiere. I think it was my favorite premiere for a Disney Plus Marvel show.
Yeah,
At
it's,
least.
it's for sure mine. 100%. It's for sure mine. Because it was one of those things that felt like a slow burn, but then to end it with that, let you know they're getting right into it, right?
Oh yeah,
So from-
that scene was like, yeah, it's not going to be like that anymore for the rest of this show. You sat through the slow pacing. You're going to get into the action for the rest of this show.
It was the equivalent, Blake, of like someone who doesn't know how to swim. So like they're walking up to the edge to just dip a toe in, and someone just comes and goes, "Get in there!" You're like, "Oh my
Yeah.
god!"
Exactly.
So when
Like,
it
okay,
gets
you
to
hit
end
the
of
third
episode,
step.
it's like,
You're used to the temperature. Get in.
right. It's just like
Yeah.
bow right in your face, and you're there. Go ahead, Patches.
Was anyone else like shocked in the sense that they like actually showed Moon Knight himself? Because with the pace of that episode, I felt like it was going to be a slow burn. Like, I mean, hell, depending on how they could have done it, could have been episode 2 or maybe episode 3 before you actually like got the full character and, you know, and in the whole outfit and everything else. So was anyone else as shocked as I was? It's like, oh wow, like
I wasn't
they just
necessarily
brought him out right there first episode.
Because it's not supposed to be like a build up to like Falcon the Winter Soldier. There was definitely a build up to like, when are we going to see that Captain America suit? With this, he's already Moon Knight, and it's what we're building up to is how did Moon Knight get to this point in his life? And it's Steven kind of catching up along with us. And a part of me thought they might wait till episode 2 to be like full glory. Here's Moon Knight. I thought at the very least we'd get that bathroom scene, that quick flash of the suit, but I'm glad we got what we did at the end.
And I want to go to you, Tia. Can we give Khonshu some credit? Because I think if Khonshu was the little devil that sits on your shoulder, he'd be like the greatest motivator. he's like, you better not drop that goddamn scare. He's like, all right, relax.
I loved how grumpy. I loved how grumpy he was. Like, if you want to talk about like bad bosses, he's a terrible boss because every single time he's like, ugh, the idiot's in charge, and it's like, god damn, like
he was way too mean to Steven.
Oh yeah, he was bullying the entire time.
Oh yeah.
And you know what, T, I'm glad you said that, because that's what's going to be the fun to see how it all plays out is when did this happen? Because the way Khonshu talks to Steven is as if this wasn't an issue before. This is something that has happened since he's become Moon Knight, and Khonshu's given him this power. Because Khonshu kind of seems like, all right, I let it slide the last couple times, but I am done with this guy. Like,
also that dialogue it should put a lot of people's worries at ease. I've seen people scared that they would change it so that Steven is the body, the person, like the actual person, not the alter. But Khonshu's dialogue immediately disproves that. He says, oh, the parasite is here, the worm. He chose Mark, and Steven just so happens to be here, and he's been dealing with him, but now he's like, he's interfering with what I want to have happen here. Deal with it. Right. So I love that dialogue.
I mean, yeah, because like you said, throughout the comics of Moon Knight, that's how it kind of like fizzled out to where it's like over progression is where he kind of snapped, and then you get these other personalities. So I'm thinking just the overhaul of maybe what Mark was going through is what caused the snap, and it's just like need a break.
Khonshu is like, I signed up for you, Mark. Who's this? Right. Why is he here right now?
and Mark is like, you worked me way too hard, Khonshu. This is what happens. I need a vacation. Here, Steven.
Right.
It's not a great replacement, but a replacement it is.
Yeah, and T, I wanted to ask you as you go into your thoughts on this episode, what were your thoughts where Mark was kind of talking to him in his home, like in his home where he was calling him? What were your thoughts on that? And then to see it progress to the thoughts towards the end of the episode where he relinquished control.
Yeah, I mean, I really like that. I was going to say it was certainly a nice relief from the way Khonshu was speaking to Steven. So that was nice. I like how Mark was kind of all of a sudden emerging, and he was more like this, I think Steven at some point says like, oh, you're having a laugh at me. And I liked how it was just like, it was subtle enough there where even you as a viewer, if you're not familiar with the character, was kind of like, yeah, what is this? But I do want to like completely jump to the bathroom scene, because I love that Mark wasn't necessarily rushing Steven. He was saying it in a calm way. It wasn't like, give me control, give me now. If you want to live, like, give me now. And he was like, you're not going to die. Just give me control. And it's like, I love that
scene. What made that part beautiful is the music stops, and they want you to really soak in that moment of them kind of having a vulnerable moment together, to where it's just like, listen, I got you. Don't worry. I got you. Just let me in. I know Khonshu was sitting somewhere just like, oh my God, finally. Goodness gracious. Do I have to send monsters your way for you to come out every day? Like, goodness. So, but no, I really did appreciate when the music just stops. and you kind of get a slow pace of them kind of just.
That moment shows the relationship Mark and Steven already have. Even if it's new to Steven, he doesn't know who Mark is, and it's new to us.
Right.
There is a moment in the comic, the Lemire run, that this one's mostly based on, that I don't want to say, because I think this show is building up to that moment. And it's like the only comic moment that's like really got me emotional. And just that scene is kind of like a hint of the emotion that can bring. So just the thought of it being a possibility, I'm like, oh God, the last few episodes are going to get me if that's the route they're choosing to go. So we'll see.
For sure. But Tia, what else stood out to you?
Oh, okay. That absolutely. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it froze for a second. My bad. But moments that stood out to me, absolutely the beginning moment. Like when I saw as you said, we hardly ever start on a villain. So starting on Ethan Hawke's Arthur and the meticulous way that he was doing his ritual, and then putting the glass in his shoes, and just seeing him slowly stand up and walk. And it's like, it really brings you into this man's mental state of what he's willing to do. You know, some people run across fire or, you know, I don't know, pins or something. But he has that all the time. He is, in, I guess, a sense, the epitome of like suffering for one's like faith, you know. To him, he you know, equals faith to be, you know, suffering of some point, you know, to just constantly be like, you know, I don't know. Anyway, that could go into a whole nother philosophical ending. I love this, right? I loved freaking Steven, how nervous he was. I love the camera work. I love the choppiness of it. I love that we were disoriented the whole time because he was disoriented. And I loved how they introduced Khonshu and Mark and Layla and things like that. I love the scene in the museum where Arthur's explaining, you know, who Amaranth is. And it's really cool. I love the way that they're tackling the ancient Egyptian mythology. You know, I am a huge fan of ancient Egyptian mythology. Has always been an interest of mine. So seeing how they're tackling, because we've seen it be tackled for so long in movies and TV shows, you know, so to see it being tackled this way is a really cool way that it's being tackled. I loved it. I love the quickness. It's very good to me. I really enjoy it. And to have that horror aspect integrated, I think it did suspense very, very well. Love that end bathroom scene. Love that was the scene that because we saw that in the trailer. We saw, you know, Moon Knight beating the shit out of something in the trailer. So for it to end with that and us get like the full suit, and I think you know, it was Patches who said he was expecting maybe even the third episode. I think we're so used to these shows and seeing the final reveal. But then, as Blake said, he's already Moon Knight. We're not seeing him being led up to Moon Knight. Moon Knight already exists. So it was just a very good way to start this, and a very good way to start, say, a new era of Marvel shows. And just Oscar Isaac and Ethan Hawke were such great casting. So love the episode.
Yeah, I think, not counting Loki, I think this is the only series where because remember, Wanda became the Scarlet Witch. Sam became Captain America. As Blake was saying, we have a character that's trying to tell us, like, oh, I'm already Moon Knight. like I'm just trying to get this guy to realize that that we are. But I've been Moon Knight. So it was easier for this show to lead with that, because it's not a buildup of who are you. The buildup is who am I, really? Like Steven trying to figure out who he is. So it's a lot different. It's kind of going backwards in a sense. Because you're not figuring out who they are. He's trying to figure out who he is. We already know who he is. So it's a lot more fun that way. But yeah, it's really good that you know, we see the suit early. You nailed the suit, right? You nailed the suit. For Wanda, it was different because we had to wait till we got to that finale to kind of see what her design is for that. Sam, we had to wait till the finale to see what his design was for that. So it's good. You started off early. We already love the design, you know, so that's not an issue here. Now it's just a point of seeing how the story plays out, because that's usually the biggest thing. You can have a great story, but if your suit's horrible, people are already going to take off like 30 points just off of that if your suit's trash. Because that's the most important thing about adapting a comic book is that you got to get the suit. You know what I'm saying? You can't give me a good story in a horrible suit. I can't watch the movie closing my eyes, right? So it's like you got to nail the suit. So that's always good. But Patches,
I thought it was a great suit.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, it had to grow on me, but I'm loving it now. I'm loving it now. But Patches, what were your thoughts on this episode?
Again, part of the vast audience that has zero knowledge of the character Moon Knight, and we've talked in MCR's past when the question is posed, what's your what are you looking forward to most? For me, it's been this series, because I know nothing about this character and I purposely didn't go read any comics. I didn't do anything Moon Knight related because I wanted to have zero expectations for this particular character and this story that they're putting out for this series. That being said, I think this first episode and the introduction to these characters, it was absolutely brilliant. I've been a musician for 30 years. So like I am always I'm the first person to tell you the score drives the movie. If you have a good score and even half-assed decent writing, the music makes you feel the emotion and makes you feel the disconnect, the connection, and everything else. And then, of course, Feige and all those guys over at Disney and Marvel, they still haven't let us down. Mephisto was standing, but all things being equal, I like is like, okay, Steven, very disassociative. And, this like, then when he picks up the razor, the razor, he's like, why did you say Mark? Cause like, and I liked how he said, why did you say that name? Like, wait a second. There was something like subconsciously, like, why did you say that name? And then you could see it like switch off real fast afterwards. So just like seeing that mental struggle. And then, again, I don't know as much of, Egyptian mythology and not from lack of, lack of time. But I am a huge history buff. So learning anything history and being able to spin this into a pop culture genre that we have, and the way they can tell the story, and just like they were saying in the comments on YouTube, like it's going to get even better with, with using stagecraft instead of, green screen and all that stuff. And, like being able to really bring all this stuff together and really make you feel it all genuinely. It's super exciting. And again, like I said, I was absolutely shocked, that we got, for me was the payoff of, seeing Moon Knight at the end of the first episode. I was like, yes, this is why it's open for.
Right. And look, the more we talk about Moon Knight, the more I'm just like, we are that much closer to Midnight Suns. Like Midnight Suns being a concept 10 years ago was like, let's see what they do with Avengers. Now it's like, we are full bore. We're at the door. We're right at the door of getting Midnight Suns. And when that happens, oh man. Midnight.
Me and Jayla are going to be very happy when we see that supernatural horror-based Avengers style team.
I will lose my mind. Together. Are you kidding me? We're going to cry together.
You guys going to play the game when it comes out? I think either this year or next year. I don't know.
I think they pushed it. I think, didn't they?
Oh, they pushed.
I have no idea.
But it's this year.
I was not interested, so I did not keep track.
When they announced that Midnight DLC, I'll get on it.
I'm sorry. I don't like the tactical strategy
turn-based thing.
Yeah. I'm not a fan.
I've never played a game like that.
I don't
like. You have to have a really good story for me to play a turn-based game.
I didn't know.
I mean,
I was excited about the characters.
Yeah.
Oh, Jayla, not excited anymore.
I'm still gonna play it.
But yeah, no. Moon Knight is essentially like that first step, and obviously we know the Blade movie is coming. We know at some point we'll get mentions of Ghost Rider and Obviously, the
Blade has already started recruiting too.
he has at the end of Eternals. He has. And I did want to see, and obviously I don't know, so I'm not revealing anything. But obviously, to see where Eternals spent most of its location, and then to see where Steven is spending most of his location.
Oh yeah,
definitely was something that I'm like, well, we know in the comics originally where Blade spent most of his location. I don't think they'll do that in the MCU, but I did think that was very apropos that a British character is in London to find another character, and then another character just so happens to be there also. So I'm very much just like, well, I'm hoping those puzzle pieces put themselves together at some point soon. So I can't freaking wait for that, man. Just visualizing Mahershala's Blade is giving me chills. But anyway, let's pass this along. I love seeing Joel nod his head. Me and Joel, we were reviewing San Diego Comic-Con live, and we were screaming when we heard Mahershala walk on stage and put on the hat, and then the Blade logo popped up. That was just like everything for us. Like, we'll find the video and show you guys, but we went bananas. Like, oh my God. Like, that's insane.
Juwaan like full on tackled Joel, like tackled him in excitement.
That was the closest I think I'll ever get Joel to crying, if I'm being completely honest. That was the closest. No, but yeah. Goodness gracious. Anyway, Jayla, I'll pass it on to you. I know, like we just said, Midnight Suns, it's on the horizon. I know you're looking forward to it, but what did this first episode of Moon Knight do for you?
I didn't have Marvel revamping my Final Destination 2 fears in this year on my bingo card, but that was a fun little surprise. I love that scene. I love the car chase. I love how it ended, because I thought they were gonna run into the cupcake, but obviously not what happened. But no, this was great. It was well paced. I really, like, everyone's already said it, but I appreciate that it ended with Moon Knight. It was just like, I've said it a million times, a perfect introduction. The score is amazing. I really love costuming so far, and I'm personally most excited to get the character dynamics and relationships built and how they work is what I'm looking forward to the most. I'm excited. I'm excited to see where they go with Arthur, how far they go. Is Arthur just a little baby step to what's actually going to happen? Like, what are they doing with that? There's a lot of questions, but no, I love it. I love poor Steven. He had it rough. He had it rough. It was constant anxiety for him.
Look.
Oh, and that scene, I didn't want to mention the scene of him trying to stay awake was really cool too. That's it.
Yes. Yep. And look, you knew he was really truly going through. We were talking about it earlier. For a vegetarian to just go, you know what? My week has been so hard. Give me meat. Like, give me meat. I don't even care.
He was so adorable when they were like, what kind of cut would you like? And he's like, the best cut. And how would you like that? And he's like, well, good. I want it good. And they're like, okay,
well
you'll
done.
get it well done then.
He's so precious.
Because clearly he was telling the waiter without like actually saying it, like, I don't know how you're supposed to go about eating meat. I don't eat meat. Like, whatever you think the best is, just give it to me. I don't know. I have no idea.
I want to know, did he actually go through with eating the steak? Like, did it get put in front of him and he was like, oh yeah, I'm a vegan, let me not eat this? Or did he actually eat it?
To me, if you ate a steak that's that good, right away, you're not eating a whole thing of chocolate. Like, he nailed that whole thing of chocolate. Like, there's only like 4 things left.
Yeah, he was having a really rough time, man.
Unless it was a really salty filet, and then you gotta have the sweets to offset it. You know, you gotta get that sweet and salty. You know,
it's probably a deleted scene. Like, they probably brought it out. He looked at it and said, "Yeah, no." Like, I thought, but
all I could see is Tommy Lee Jones in the first Captain America. What's in it? Cow.
No, I'm thinking there's no way he actually went through it. When he actually saw it hot and in front of him, he was like, no, I can't. Take it away.
It's like, this isn't a veggie steak?
Right. It's like,
yep, it's totally tofu. It's just chewier tofu. Go for it.
No, but I mean, look, Oscar Isaac just does such a great job. Like, he really pulls you into believing both sides, right? So, like, you get Steven, which, again, by the way, great change. I know Mr. East saying in the comment section that he was saying that he hopes after this people stop comparing Moon Knight to Batman. And what's funny about that is me and Joel were saying it makes 1,000% sense why they changed Steven's character. Because if you made Steven the billionaire that at night dresses up as a vigilante, people were going to double down on, oh, well, that's clearly Marvel's Batman. And it's like, we want to get you
timing. Oh my god!
Right, we want to get you. So I appreciate them making him like he just works at the local museum, right? Like he doesn't really know what's going on or anything. And it's like I could wrap my head around that enough. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, that was one of the changes that I'm like, well, I don't mind that change. That was a pretty cool change.
I really like that change. I love Steven.
It's a good change. Yeah, 100%. I mean, so much. Let me just say this, Blake. I'm loving Steven so much. I'm struggling because I keep saying, like, all right, I'm like Trevon, I'm like, hurry up, give me Mark, right? But then I'm like, I like Steven. Maybe just like, can we get 2 separate series, right?
I can
I love him. I adore
try
him.
his best all day.
Right. I mean, look, I wouldn't mind seeing 2 points of view, like a Steven series, a Mark series, and then you just blend it together to give me a Moon Knight series, right? Because that's how awesome Steven is. Like, he really pulls you in. That you're like, I care about what happens to this guy. You know what I'm saying? So Oscar Isaac, man, what a casting. I still remember me and Joel were like, Oscar Isaac? No way he's saying yes to that. Like, no way he's doing it. And then, like, it took forever for it to be, like, officially confirmed from like Oscar and Disney and whatnot.
I think it wasn't until he posted that picture, right?
All the major trades said it was, right? And then it's like, well, if you put all your faith in the major trades, then cool. But if you put faith in the actual actor,
Marvel did it and Oscar did it until that picture.
Right. So when he came out and you saw the picture, it was just like, okay,
he's Moon Knight.
I mean, because at that point, you're like, whoa, hold on. What's Marvel doing to me? They went and got Mahershala for Blade. They went and got Oscar Isaac for Moon Knight. Now I'm shaking because I'm like, what is Ghost Rider going to be? What is like, what
Daryl Dixon Ghost Rider is going to be.
Nicolas Cage, once again.
Boom, that's what I was just going to say.
Almost blocked me.
Nick Cage, Renaissance.
Disney, block Marvel. That wasn't my choice.
No,
hey, I like that first one now. Hold on.
No. I'm with you. I enjoyed it too. But that was yet another Marvel project.
Closest we've gotten to a Mephisto yet.
I was just about to make the joke, Blake. I was just about to say it was yet another Marvel project that refused to call it Mephisto.
You weren't here for the 8 weeks that we did WandaVision.
Oh my god.
The Mephisto struggle was
maybe
real.
for the better.
Yeah, definitely.
Like I swear he could have started his own cult, and I'm surprised he didn't make Kool-Aid by the end of the series and just drank it himself. I swear to you.
Oh my god! Can you imagine Juwaan sitting in front of his screen drinking Kool-Aid like this is
just
it?
like
Last
rocking back
episode,
and forth.
Mephisto, and then the credits come up, and he's just like what the hell?
There it is.
So I mean, we needed to have made merch back then. Like GV and Mephisto merch. Like the fact that we believe missed opportunity.
Hashtag Mephisto did it.
Yeah, no, I can honestly tell you, I was trying my best not to be a part of that finale podcast.
He tried.
All respect,
so
you soldiered
hard.
through, man. You did. You were a champ, and I was very proud of you.
I had to watch the Hawkeye series because Juwaan did the final episode.
Yes. No, Tia was trying to not watch the whole Hawkeye series. She was like, no, I'll just sit out. No, you won't. You're 100% going to watch every episode. I don't know what you think.
I ended up really loving the show.
Of course you did, Tia. We still don't know why you disrespect Hawkeye.
Not because of Clint Barton, okay? Everything else other than Clint Barton.
Right.
Anyway, this isn't about Hawkeye. This isn't about Hawkeye. Why are you like getting off topic right now?
It's okay. You can come out and say you love Hawkeye. It's fine.
Juwaan, just
Jamie,
diverting from the subject.
I'm gonna pass it to you. Tia didn't tell anybody, but she does have a Hawkeye tattoo. But anyway, Jamie, what were your thoughts on this newest episode, or this first episode, of Moon Knight?
I liked it. I feel like I'm very whelmed. So like, I wasn't like, oh my god, this is like the greatest thing ever. And I also wasn't like, oh, like this was kind of bad. Like I was like, no, I enjoyed my time. I feel like I don't think it was necessarily a slow burn, but I was waiting for something of like significance to happen. And when Steven started like passing out and just like ending up at random places, I'm like, okay, interesting. But then immediately back in his bed or back in the bus or back in the museum, and I'm like, oh, what the? I'm like getting vertigo from all this. What is going on? So, to end it with, well, first of all, one of my favorite parts of this episode, and it's just like completely very minuscule thing, but when Arthur is talking to Steven, and Steven's like, when they first meet in the museum and Steven's trying to like get out, and he's like, Ronnie, like security, like this guy, he's been following me. And then Ronnie walks over, he shows his wrist, he's like, Ronnie, not you, Ronnie. I just thought that was hilarious.
The ultimate betrayal.
I know, like it was his best friend or something, and he just like betrayed him, like F2 Ronnie, F2. But I was really to go refer back to Patch's comment. I wasn't necessarily shocked that they revealed the like Moon Knight in the first episode, but I also almost wasn't halfway expecting it by the time we got to the end. I'm like, okay, like time's running out here, and we haven't seen anybody yet. But I'm glad they did kind of show in the end and like show that he's there to take care of business. To Trayvon's point, I didn't find myself like, oh, like I really wish I could have seen like that fight or like the violence that was going on, because I feel like we will see it later on. And I feel like right now they're just trying to set up the whole dichotomy of like Steven and like whatever else is happening on the other side when he closes his eyes, I guess, or when the camera shutter closes or whatever. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I think going forward, something I definitely want to know is like, and this definitely will be explained, or most likely will be explained, is what Mark has been doing this whole time. Because obviously, he's been tying himself to the bedpost for a long time. Like this isn't just something he just recently started doing. So I'm kind of curious as to like what kind of rep Mark's made for himself, or that Moon Knight has made for himself, and kind of, I guess, why Steven feels like he's been hit by a bus every time he wakes up, like he was telling his mom over the voicemail. And also, what is up with Steven's mom? Is she taking these voicemails, or is he just like talking into his phone like, all right, bye mom, love you, and it's just not going anywhere? I don't know. That's also interesting. And then Layla's also another interesting moving part to this puzzle. So not a whole lot of thoughts for the moment, but I am very curious to see how all the pieces of the puzzle to come together. And I'm really excited for the series. It seems like compared to Hawkeye, for me, like I kind of like the mystery sort of thing. Horror, I hope it doesn't get like too scary, because I don't know what I'm gonna do. I usually watch horror things like with other people, so that way I feel like, if something were to happen, push Timmy down, run. No, I'm just kidding. But it just makes me feel comfortable if there are like other people there, like safety in numbers. So hopefully it doesn't go too dark. I don't think it will. But yeah, definitely the mystery part of like Steven figuring out who he is or what he is what I'm interested in seeing.
Absolutely. And I want to go to the comment section for a second. Mr. E asks, what are the chances of Moon Knight possibly appearing in Blade? All in the Game says Midnight Suns, baby, got to be a good chance. Maybe even get a Blade post-credit scene in this show like we got in Eternals. At this point, you just have to assume everything is on the table. Everything you just said is possible. However they decide to go about it, all of it's possible. Mm-hmm. To me, I kind of feel like we don't make it out of either this or Blade without getting that answer. Because I kind of feel like it make no sense. like, you know what I'm saying? The first thing of Blade we got was just a voice in Eternals, right? So it's like, well, between this show and his movie, that has to be answered between one of those. So I think your chances are pretty high at it being answered either here or there, but it will be answered. As I told my dad, Feige always answers questions. He creates new ones for sure. Like just when you're like, okay, I get it. You're then like, a multiverse? What? I just got over Thanos. And he's like, well, there you go. Enjoy.
That's
so,
how you world build. That's how you story tell.
Look,
Come on,
I
boy.
never complain about having a full plate. I never mind.
It may take a decade to get some answers. Like, when will we see Abomination again? But we're gonna get the answers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I like the laugh.
No, we're all gonna be like 60, and we'll probably get answer some.
Hey, take it easy. Some are going to be there a lot quicker than others.
Stop lying, Patches. You're like 25, right?
Ish. Give or take.
Ish.
Tia, you're the best.
Ish. Yeah, so that'll definitely be answered soon. Let's see what else we got here.
I saw a question earlier in the chat asking who that voice was. It was Conchu, that voice in Steven's head, that old man voice that is very mean to him. That is Conchu.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Who, not quite the voice I expected when reading the comics. I always kind of read it as more of an echoey whisper sort of thing, but
yeah,
I was
exactly. I was yeah, you get it.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of giving me like Venom vibes a little. Just a little.
Yeah, it was also like that.
Yeah.
Having that little voice bully you, motivate you through the mission. Yeah.
One thing I'm definitely waiting for is because Moon Knight's primarily been just a comic book. So like when Moon Knight talks, we have no context on, does he sound like Mark? Does he sound like someone else?
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be very interesting to see when Moon Knight talks, where they go with it. Like, is it supposed to be drastically different than Mark and Steven? Or is he just sound like Mark? And because no one knows who the hell Mark is, you can get away with that. So I'm going to be very interested in seeing how they go about that.
I just hope he talks like this, like everybody else does. That's masked.
I kind of hope they don't do that. Then that leads into even more.
Batman.
Right,
I 100%
exactly.
hope they don't do that.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
you do that, then they're full on like, well, I'm sold. Like
He
that.
gets a super high pitched voice instead. Like,
Sucking at helium tank.
I mean, look, the only thing they could do to throw people off is just give him Steven's voice. Like, give him Steven's voice and have everyone just like,
gosh.
I'm sorry, what the hell
I
is
think,
that?
It has to be that voice on TikTok. They'll be like, I want to take a pic with Cardi
Yes.
B inside the Cardi.
I can't wait for that. To see what they do with it, because you got ranges here. You got ranges you can go.
I don't know. I love it kind of being Steven. Excuse me.
Right?
Could you please just stop? Just
I
stop
love
right
the
now.
accent. I think it's, oh my god. I don't know. I think that's what makes him even more like precious. I don't know. I think he's just like so like the innocentness of him, like
Yeah.
and just like I'm like I want to protect him. I'm like I literally don't want anything to happen to him like ever.
100%. And you have to imagine, because if this is a different personality, you have to imagine Mark feels the same way. That's why that bathroom scene is even more.
Oh yeah.
Mark was just like, oh my god, you are such a sweet soul, even though you're me. But I have to protect you. Like,
Yeah.
I'm here.
Like he was talking to a statue. Like, come on, he's so cute. I love him. Like I was like, oh yeah, he has my heart already.
Oh, 100%. You know Mark loves him. Meanwhile, Conchu is just like, all right, how can we dissect him out of you? How can we get him like he doesn't belong to you anymore? But Patches, before you go, I wanted to give you a shout out. I'm glad that we got to do this together, bringing the MCR back. You got a lot of things coming up. Give us a plug really quickly before you go.
Oh yeah, actually, Kind of Nerdy Network. That's where you can find everything. KindofNerdyNetwork.com, especially the relaunch of the Kind of Nerdy Girls season 2 with our dear friend Tia from Geek Vibes Nation. We are very, very excited that she is part of the Kind of Nerdy Network family, especially now a full-blown Kind of Nerdy Girl. So the Kind of Nerdy Dudes podcast is going to get absorbed by the Kind of Nerdy Girls a little bit, and we're just gonna have little, like little dude invasion podcasts every once in a while now. So it's not going to be as often, but all my stuff that we have going on other than what we're doing here, it's worth it. So, but KindofNerdyNetwork.com, And definitely check out Kind of Nerdy Girls. You know, KJ, who is absolutely brilliant. I have to say that. I'm legally obligated to say that, considering I've been married to her for 17 years. But with her, Katie, Jana, and of course now Tia on board, part of the girls, it is an absolute fabulous time. And you know, our TV show Paranormal Crossroad, getting season 2, and we have a lot of new TV stuff that's going to be happening with that show. So just keep tuned in, and you'll definitely see me back here. I still have some editing to do because Supernatural Con is here in Indianapolis starting tomorrow. So gotta do my big boy stuff. But as always, it was a pleasure to help you start this together with, you know, all the GV and family, and like look where it is now, seeing this new family, and you know, all the brilliant, you know, creators and, you know, opinions and contributors that this show's grown into. So I'm all about it. So just thank you guys as always.
Absolutely, Patches. Thank you very much, man. And we'll see you next week, episode 2.
All right. Love you guys. See ya.
All right.
Bye.
All right. So, Joelle, you are next up. What were your thoughts on this series premiere? Yes, you. Don't you tell me there's another version of you out there, Joelle. Yeah, what were your thoughts?
My thoughts on this episode. All right, so it was good. It was really good. Good way to start an episode. If I had to say one negative thing about it at all, is that I swear I saw 80% of this already in the trailers. Like, that was the only thing. Is like I felt like I didn't see a lot of new stuff. But that means everything we're gonna see, there's a lot of new stuff we're gonna see. So I kind of take the good with the bad there, because especially that when it ended, especially the way it ended, I'm like, I've seen the majority of this in the trailer, which is not technically a bad thing, but it's like a lot of it I felt like I saw already. But I love all the context. Now we understand more about the character. I also fell in love with the way he portrayed Stephen Grant. And look, we were talking about it. It's a really good way to portray the character. The way he's now the heart of Moon Knight, more or less, you know. So he's like he's the audience perspective and everything. So that it's definitely a different take, but it's a good take. It works for the show. And now I'm really curious as how different all the other personalities are gonna be. Is Moon like we already know what Mark sounds like, but will we eventually get like Jake Lockley part or Mr. Knight? Was Mr. Knight like sound like? I'm very curious. Like so like. That definitely I just want to see where it goes, and obviously we're gonna have to be patient. There's like 5 more episodes, but I do like the fact that they're definitely trying to separate themselves from it being like a Batman parody. You don't want it to be there, because that's kind of like what everyone thinks about, you know. And already it feels very different than anything like the Bat, and I love that they've already separated. They did a really good job. It's London. We were talking about that. It's not in the U.S. Just like you said, the suit is growing on you. It already grew on me a while back, but I do I love the whole mummy aspect of it. He has wraps and the gold armor, and I love the whole design is fucking beautiful. The same thing with Mr. Knight. Really, really, really cool. He knocked that out of the park. The rest of the episode, I thought it was just really well done. All the shots are really cool. I love the whole aspect of him blacking out and not knowing where he is. I thought obviously that's a good introduction to the character, because you're not supposed to know about anybody else really yet. You know, it's all about Steven. So the whole spread, everything is through his eyes. So you're gonna get there. You know, it takes a while. If it was a movie, you probably get everything, but it's a show. It's a 6-hour movie, so you got to take your time. You can't rush into everything. You can't give you everything all at once. You got to be very patient. But I will be patient for it, because I think Oscar Isaac is incredible, and it's gonna be fun. I mean, I can't wait to see what else is coming.
Yeah, I mean they definitely get very ambitious in the most positive way I could say that with this show. And like I said, it is something. Like I said, it is something. Once you get past episode 1, buckle up 100%.
That's what it felt like.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that's part of the reason why Oscar Isaac was, you know, besides the script just being amazing, is that if you did put it in a movie, it would have been a lot slower. And then the end would have been when he suits up, and then that's like for like the last 5 to 8 minutes, and then the movie's over. In a series, you can drag that out where you could either go really slow or really fast. And the first episode should be slow because it's laying the groundwork, and then you can just go full steam ahead.
I still think they could have gave us like the first 2 episodes, but that's just me.
I wish they did.
I mean, I don't think you'll get anyone to disagree with you. Look, that wouldn't even been a thought if they didn't do it with Hawkeye. If they didn't do it with Hawkeye, I would have been like, all right, whatever. No, I think WandaVision, they did it too.
WandaVision did the first 2.
I'd love.
Yeah. So shout out to Feige picking and choosing when he wants to do that. Like that shouldn't be
an interesting situation too.
They didn't want What If did it too, didn't they?
No, What If I think was weekly. What If was weekly.
It was weekly, but they gave us like 2 or 3 in the front. No,
they just gave us the first. I remember vividly What If. I have thoughts about that.
It was just the Captain Carter.
You have thoughts?
Yes.
You have thoughts?
You know what?
I do have thoughts about that series. And I'm still reviewing it on my personal channel too, so it just makes me even more bitter. More bitter.
To me, like I said, I don't think Feige should be able to have that. He shouldn't make that decision. Let us choose how many episodes we get in the first week. Feige could be like, all right, fans, what do you guys want? 6. But there's only 6. I know. Give me 6.
I was going to say, if it was up to us to just say, drop the whole thing.
Right. We'd be like, give
us 6. To drop the whole thing.
Yeah, give us 6. Today. And is there any way you can give us season 2 the next day? And it's like, wait, what? Yeah, give us 6 now and then season 2 the next day. It's like, that's not how that works. We'll make it work.
The show gets a season 2. Now all these shows
better. Oh, yeah. Well, that's mainly because they're going to spin off into the movies.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So we don't know what shows might.
I think WandaVision was unique too because the concept itself of WandaVision you couldn't do a season 2 of.
Right.
Absolutely.
I agree with that.
To be fair, that is the first thought I had with Loki. And then they were like, season 2. And I'm like,
what? No, Loki
really thought you
open.
I thought you wrapped everything up. I thought it was just like the movies got it from here. And they were like, no, we got more. And I'm like,
it's not as like
Jayla, Juwaan is not a Loki fan, so if
that is not,
he was just looking for an excuse for the
that's not true. No,
I got you.
I am a Loki fan. I just want them.
You say that.
No, I want them to stop treating Loki like a soap opera. Like he's just
I love it.
To die. Like no, let him die and let's
no, keep bringing him back.
Or let him have his powers.
You got to simplify it. He's future Trunks essentially. He's Silver from Sonic. He's future Trunks in Dragon Ball Z. He's going to be able to bounce back in and out.
Don't say that because you have people still holding out hope that we get Kid Loki in the part of the
absolutely not.
What?
Absolutely not.
And it's like no, we don't need more Loki. Don't double down on Loki. No, but Deuces, to be fair, my issue with Loki is the more you hold on to him, the more it's not allowing other villains that are coming up to have that main focus. And now you're essentially making him like a
he's not even a villain anymore. It's an anti-hero.
No, you're not wrong though.
He's an anti-hero. And I'm like, Loki, you using Loki so long that he's now an anti-hero tells you all you need to know about the problem.
To be fair, and I know this is like not the point, not the podcast for it, but those are my feelings about Harley Quinn, that she's been made as an anti-hero in the recent years. And I'm like, she's a villain. She started as a villain. Stop this whole let's make her the good person now. But this is the MCR. We're not talking about DC. Juwaan, why are you?
That's funny though, because I literally had that conversation today about Harley.
That's fair, but I always view Harley the same way I viewed Venom. Like, do I need Venom to ever be an anti-hero? No, but can Venom walk in the light of it? But it kind of threads that line of like, well, was that really a good thing he just did? Like, you know what I'm saying? I like that.
And then also with Harley not really having an identity until her and Joker finally breaks up, and then that's usually been her storyline. She doesn't know what to really do with herself, you know, so she was like, she doesn't know if she wants to be a villain, if she wants to run a criminal empire, or does she want to just be out here by herself, if she wants to help out bats, like she doesn't know.
And it
I understand. It's just
that the question of like, is Harley doing all this bad stuff because she truly enjoys it, or is she doing it because she knows that's what Joker enjoys and she just wants to keep him happy, right? So now we have the answer to that question. Clearly, she doesn't want to do half of that shit she did, because the moment she got free, she just was like, "I saved someone today."
Well,
pretty good.
I mean, That's the whole problem with the new 52 Harley. I mean, the original Harley and how she became Harley was much different than what they're spinning in the recent years. But that's a whole nother thing for a whole nother day.
Yeah.
Absolutely. T, I wanted you to plug top 10 before you had to go, because a new episode dropped this past weekend, right?
Yes, which is funny. So Brittany and I have our segment, the top 10 for Geek Vibes Nation, which you can find on this very YouTube channel. We literally recorded on March 8th, and I think I just dropped it 3 days ago. So that just goes to show you how slow my editing process is. But I have been with GVN now for about 4 years. I am extremely grateful for everything that Juwaan has provided for me. So all I can say is, first of all, yes, please check out the top 10 with Brittany and I. We are now doing it monthly. The recent top 10 we did was the top 10 supporting characters who stole the show. And that's so much fun. And I would say, please, if you are not subscribed to this YouTube channel, please make sure that you are subscribed. Please make sure that you are also checking out geekvibesnation.com. We are actually in the process of redoing our website. We have such amazing, talented writers there. And on our YouTube channel, we, of course, have amazing, talented people. We have amazing, talented friends, as evidenced by all of the new faces I see here today. And I'm just so excited that the MCR is back. I have been waiting, and like, I think texting Juwaan every week going like, so who's excited for MCR? So just again, thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you. And just make sure that you are supporting us in any way that you can, whether it's a follow, a share, or even a comment. So thank you guys, and I will see you all next week then.
Absolutely.
Oh, see you next week.
Wait, I forgot to say, later skaters.
Later.
Gators, gators.
That was so beautiful, and then later skater came out of your mouth. No,
Later
that's what-
skaters.
He said
Later,
Yeah.
He said
in the
skater.
show.
Later skaters.
Later gator.
To his
Later
mom.
skaters. Later skaters.
Later skaters.
Yeah, he
It's
said
later
it to his
skaters.
mom.
Said to his mom.
Boo,
Come on,
Juwaan.
It is
Juwaan.
kinda-
I would-
Come on.
Makes me
I
sad.
was just
Tomato,
emulating.
tomato.
I was just emulating the sweet boy.
no, but I appreciate that, T, and obviously you are a massive part of this GVN machine, so we truly appreciate you. And make sure you guys check out that top 10 episode. But I wanted to give a quick shout out to Dakota, our artist. He has an edit.
Bye, guys.
Mean
Bye.
edit. He has a mean
Good.
edit for Moon Knight coming out next week. He couldn't get it done by today, but it will come out next week, and it's insane because you guys are used to us always having an intro before our MCR. So stay tuned for that. That Moon Knight one's gonna be sick. But all right, so Sabrina, I want to go to you. What were your thoughts? Because me, you, and Blake have already expressed how excited we were for this day to finally come.
Were we?
Yeah.
We 1,000% were. I think it was daily, hourly, and almost minutely. But how did you enjoy this episode, Sabrina?
I really, really enjoyed it. Like, I'm kind of glad that I kind of did like a little. I didn't do like as much of a deep dive into Moon Knight like the way Blake did. But because he kept talking about him, I was like, you know what? I was like, I picked up his current run. So like, I'm glad I have a little bit of a background to be like, okay, I know who this is. I kind of know what's going on here. I know what they're gonna maybe do a little bit. So like, I wasn't like completely lost and like kind of going blind. So like, I'm not like confused as much. But I love the pacing. Like, I mean, I'm not saying it's perfect, but I think it was like I got everything I wanted out of that premiere episode. Like, I don't think they showed too much. Like, I'm glad, like, everything we got on that, I was like, okay, yeah. Like, I mean, like, you know, there's like little things, like, yeah, it's not perfect, but I think I can honestly say it's my favorite premiere episode since Loki. I loved Loki, so like, I'm hoping like I think this and Loki are probably gonna be like end up being my two favorite Disney Plus shows. Like, I loved all of them, but like, I don't know, something about Loki was just so good that I was like, it has yet to be topped. So I'm hoping maybe Moon Knight could, or it could be on the same level. But I love Steven. I love Oscar Isaac as an actor, so I was already very like, not only, you know, reading into Moon Knight before the show, but I also love Oscar, so like I was already very excited. I like how we both like how we kind of saw both Mark and Steven. And I don't want to say like acting, but like not every act, like that's not an easy thing to do. Like kind of goes back and forth with that. And I think Oscar did an amazing job already from like what we saw in the first episode. I'm trying to think. Like I have so many thoughts, but I just like me and Blake rewatched it like earlier today, and like I thought like, you know how like when you watch something, it's just that excitement of waiting for a project. And it's like, okay, you're not going to see any flaws. You're going to be like, oh my God, this is perfect. Right. I like even watching it, I was like, no, it's phenomenal. Like I know everyone's mostly talking about like the end scene, but that was perfect. That was so good. Like, oh my God, like the way he kicked him, like it was just so good. Like, oh man. I made a joke to Blake earlier about Arthur Harrow when he like smashed the glass and put it in his shoes. I was like, it literally bothered me the whole episode because I was like, I got a pebble in my shoe and like I like lose my mind. So like I don't know how he's like walking on glass the entire time. I was like, bruh, like this guy already scared me. But yeah, I would say like my favorite things was that scene. I really loved every time they cut from Steven to Mark, like not even just like the violence of like him killing people, but like showing that like immediately when Mark kind of like took control, like he got shit done, like, you know, and then like Steven waking back up, like, and, you know, taking control, and he's just like, what happened? It's like that, like him being, you know, Mark being who he is, and then like Steven just being like innocent and pure and being like, what happened? Like I just wanted, I'll give it to you. I'll like the scarab. He's like, I was gonna give it to you, but like they wouldn't let me. And like I loved Conchu. Conchu was so cool. Like I loved the voice for him. I thought it was great. Like the fact that he bullied him the entire time. That was great. That was so funny. I don't know. There's just like I'm already like I just need more. Like I just want more. Like I need more. Like it's so good already. And I'm like, I'm glad they're focusing on more characters that that like not many people would know like about. Like he's definitely like because I was like talking about it to my brother. Like my brother's never heard of him. He's more of like a like I know now he's getting more popular, especially because like he has a current run right now, especially because the show. But like before that, like I don't know. I like that they're focusing on characters that we like haven't heard that much about. You know, and it's like especially like supernatural type characters. Like that's just I don't know. I think especially with like Multiverse of Madness, like they're going in that direction. And I love it's like a different type of like I don't say like vibe, like different like tone they're setting for like the future of the MCU, and I love that. And like it's not even just like it being brutal, but like, you know, just being like, you know, supernatural type stuff. And like I don't know, I'm just excited. I'm really excited.
Yeah, I mean, to your point about that, no one would believe it now, but that's essentially how Feige started the MCU. Probably Marvel's most unpopular characters and world builded with them. You know, obviously people probably knew, because I don't know of many people that didn't play Marvel vs. Capcom. So you've seen Iron Man, you've seen Hulk, you've seen Captain America. But then the question is, were they ever your favorites? And the answer to that, I'll go ahead and answer, is probably not. It was probably
I think we have that conversation a lot.
Hulk definitely.
Hulk. No, like Hulk was always a mainstream hero, but like I think it's like when you think about it, like looking back on before these movies and like, you know, them getting introduced in the MCU, like you're like, yeah, of course everyone loved them, but it's like no I mean they weren't as like as they are now.
The biggest evidence is I'm sorry, go ahead, Deuces.
I was gonna say at most everybody thought Iron Man's suit looked pretty dope. That was like
that was the extent, right? But I mean, look, whenever someone tells you like, no, Iron Man's always been popular, I always go, you find me somebody that was alive in the mid-90s, right? And then you ask them, hey, what were some of your favorite superhero animated series? They'll say X-Men, they'll say Batman, they'll say Spider-Man. You know what people always forget? Iron Man had one, Hulk had one, Superman had one. Like, so many characters in that animated series that a lot of people tend to forget about. But the
granted, I did try to watch a little bit of the Iron Man one, and I was like, I can see why this wasn't popular, man. They did not. They didn't try with that one.
At the time, if I'm not mistaken, I think we thought Rocketeer was cooler than Iron Man at that time. That lets you know
that's true.
That was the competition. It was Rocketeer or Iron Man, and we rock with Rocketeer. We thought that was dope.
That is
Tony.
crazy, but that's pretty accurate. But no, I mean, look,
Rocketeer
the
is
Iron
still
Man-
awesome.
The Iron Man animated series is what made me vehemently despise Iron Man 3. Because the Iron Man animated series gave you Mandarin literally almost every fucking episode. It didn't really have any other villain but Mandarin every episode. So I'm like, all right, I've built up a pretty good idea.
No.
of what Mandarin is. You get to Iron Man 3 and I'm like, okay, wait.
Exactly.
Like,
Oh yeah.
what am
You
I looking at
actually-
here, right?
Hate that movie
So-
because of that.
Right.
Exactly.
So to me, it's like I said, what Feige did, we don't look at it now, but it was super bold. Like very, very, very bold. Because you started with Iron Man and then your very next one was Hulk. But that was coming off the fact that to a lot of people, the last thing they knew of Hulk was the Eric Bana one.
Yeah.
That, like, a lot of people were like, bro, do I even want to see anything else Hulk after that? And then you see it and you're like, okay, Feige might be 2 for 2. Then you get Cap, then you get Thor. You're like, he's got a momentum building with this.
Yeah.
You know, and then boom, a world was built. So to me, I'm like, you look back and you really appreciate the fact that he started off with not the most, and obviously I feel as though if Sony and Fox weren't an issue, he wouldn't have started the MCU with those characters.
Yeah.
It would have been X-Men heavy, Fantastic Four, Spider-Man,
Yeah.
then everything else.
Well,
Go
I
ahead.
think to add to that, like I think it also like I don't want to like be that person, but like it also depended on like the characters getting popular, like who played them. You know, like RDJ like literally like became the face of Iron Man, so like he like helped him, you know,
Reinvented.
blow up even more because like people knew him as an actor and they're like, oh wow.
He
Like-
really reinvented
and-
Iron Man.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
and
My
it was-
brother literally is like, my brother didn't really like read comics growing up, but like my brother's like the biggest Iron Man fan I know now, and he's like he loves RDJ as like Iron Man, and it's like I like tell him too. I'm like now people you see all these Iron Man fans, but back then you really like it wasn't
No,
as.
you didn't. And what Feige did was actually so massively genius because what he did was he changed the game in the essence of for Iron Man, Cap, Thor, Hulk. The past comics didn't matter, right?
Yeah.
So like, you walked in there and you couldn't go, bro, you have to read these Iron Man comics to appreciate this movie. He made it so if you hadn't heard of a comic book, you could appreciate those movies. So he reinvented the wheel because outside of a few stories, we were talking about it, Blake, I think last weekend we were all talking about it. When you read the Infinity Gauntlet comics and then you watch Infinity War, it makes you feel like I shouldn't have read Infinity Gauntlet. I should have just watched Infinity War, right? So
Just
he's
like
reinvented the wheel to where the comics just don't matter anymore, right? You just watch the movies because they're giving you a new telling. A new telling of these characters. You know what I'm saying? So
they'll take the basic idea or premise or even just the title, and then they'll make
sometimes
it work.
it's just the title. Yeah, sometimes it's just like Civil War. Then you're watching, you're like, you're
This
really
ain't Civil War. This ain't Civil War.
right. You're really lucky that that whole hangar scene existed because outside of that, it's just a blank premise. Of
Oh yeah.
Well, like,
Even
a lot of
worse
stories,
for Age of
too.
Ultron.
Well, like a lot of stories that they did adapt to were like harder because like they didn't have certain characters like X-Men
those
and
you
like
understand. Right, those you understand.
Fantastic Four.
But I mean, usually his movies aren't based off of one particular thing, right? So like when I didn't like what they did with Extremis, I could only not like it to a degree because they weren't basing it off of a specific run. It was just their interpretation of what Extremis would be.
yeah.
So
And
he
that's
comes-
exactly how they describe Moon Knight. They're not basing it off a specific run, but they're pulling from all of them. Maybe mostly from one, but in general, it's his entire history of just being a comic book is what they're pulling from.
Right.
You know what I always tell people when I talk about the MCU and the accuracy of it, I said just treat the whole MCU like it's Kevin Feige's run of Marvel. Like that's essentially what he did. He's pretty much said, instead of doing a comic book run, I'm going to do a run, but I'm going to do it in movies because they established it so much that now when we have conversations, we say, all right, wait, are we basing it off of the MCU? Or are we basing it off of, and we start going over different runs that we may be basing it off of. So like that was smart in that sense. It's pretty much just doing the same thing, but changing media platforms.
Right, and he's really the only one that did it, because Joel was telling me on projects like Invincible how almost to a T Invincible was to the comics, right?
Yeah.
And it's like you don't usually get that. Obviously, when we watched the Batman, Sabrina, we were laughing because we were saying, like, Rob was saying in an interview how much that movie is based off of like The Long Halloween. And we were laughing saying how, like, well, only pieces of that movie is Long Halloween. It wasn't a large inspiration because only a tad bit of that movie is Long Halloween. And really the biggest part is the Falcone relationship and then Catwoman.
Yeah.
Outside of that,
well, I think, okay, so, like, stuff like that, it's like, it doesn't have to be, like, you know, exact, but, like, when they take specific important parts and, like, the best parts, the biggest highlights of, like, certain run, it, like, flows better. Like, a lot of movies, like The Dark Knight, they took the Harvey and Bruce relationship from Long Halloween.
Yes.
But like it was like that was all they took though. So like every universe has used that because that's such a definitive Batman story that like everyone always goes to Long Halloween because it's like one of the best and most famous ones.
Yes, for Batman reading recommendations, you will always see The Long Halloween.
Yeah, and I'm like that's great, but like that's why like when he said Long Halloween, I was like okay, yeah, like, but like it did like I remember I wasn't gonna like I didn't watch the clip of when Bruce and the Falcone in front of the funeral got leaked because I was like I don't want to like watch it until the movie. But like a lot of people were quoting was like this is just right out of Halloween, Long Halloween, and I was like oh my god, I was like I love that. And now every time I watch it, I'm like I sit there and smile because I'm like that's perfect because it's like the second I hear it, I picture that panel of like young Bruce, and it's like oh my god, it's perfect. It's perfect.
I always said the one thing they were missing that always stood out to me was him just smelling the flower. Like that always stood out.
Oh, I know. But they got the scars. They got the scars, which was like amazing. Yeah.
They did. But no, so to go back to the MCU, I'm gonna hand it to you, Deuces, for your take on Moon Knight. It's like I said, it's like the MCU wants to reinvent the wheel, and everything else is bogged down in some kind of comic accuracy, right? Like DC, I'd say more than not, is bogged on some, like you had to have known some of this. Like Joel, getting into Stargirl, I knew nothing about Stargirl. I felt as I was missing, like the show filled in all the gaps. I don't want to make it sound like I'm not going to know. But it did make me feel like I needed to read on who the JSA was, right? You know what I'm saying? Like read up on that. The MCU makes it like, don't worry that the comic books exist. Just pay attention to what I'm doing. Like, look over here. We're just
we'll be rewriting that.
Right. We'll be
look at the Shang-Chi and the 10 Rings.
Yeah.
Yes, when you showed me that, I'm just like, no, Kevin. No, this is why you need separation of church and state. When Kevin got the keys to everything, he said, oh, no. What I do in the movies is gospel. You'll get it in cartoons. You'll get it in toys, animation, games.
Don't tell me about accurate. They will be.
Right. That's the point. So, Joel, it's starting to become to the point now where me and you go, well, no, you should read the comics. We can't say that anymore for Marvel. Like, we just got to stick with that with everything else because with Marvel,
but then you can you got to say it's a reference. Just use it as a reference.
That's why it's like the people that like talk about comic book accuracy. It's like not to like make a general statement, but like most of the time, like when I see like arguments on Twitter, it's like people are like, oh, the comic book accuracy doesn't work because it's like you're a Marvel fan. Like, of course, like it's not going to be a big deal. Like it's not going to be a big deal.
It's not a big deal, yeah. Right.
And I mean, as an insult, that's fine. I'm just saying because like, but that's listen, whatever works, whatever makes them, you know, if it works, it works. And like sometimes some things that they change from the comics are better. Like as you saw in Moon Knight, like the way they changed Steven, like it works better for the show and it makes people love the character more.
I remember telling Joel, and Joel's answer to me is still all-time great, is when I went, bro, like, they made the children of Thanos seem like the putties from Power Rangers. And I'll never forget Joel's answer was, who cares? And I'm like, but I do. I read the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah.
Like, they mean more. And he's like, well, for this movie, they mean nothing, Juwaan. Get over it.
Well, I'll give you an example. Like, so, like I said, my brother's an Iron Man fan, and, like, Iron Man 3, like, it doesn't even matter to him about the whole Mandarin thing, because he's like, oh, that doesn't bother me, I liked him. And I was like, but You know, like that's not him. That's not him.
Off of nothing. So to him, he's like, it's fine. Yeah, who cares?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I was like, people think that's bad because like it's not him. I was like, well, I like it, so it's not matter. I was just like,
He's
okay.
like, I'm not other people. I don't care what they think.
Yeah,
it's
I don't
fine.
care. Look, I always say it's a blessing if you don't know any of the source material. It's
You
a
know what?
blessing. I sometimes wish I had that.
But you know what's funny?
Certain things.
I realize this. I realize any property that's within the MCU, I have accepted that it doesn't have to be accurate. But if you do it in my DC properties, I'm pissed off. If you do it with X-Men, I'm upset. Like it's like it's just I feel like MCU has already shaped my mind that if MCU has it, I pre them getting everything now. But I definitely are in that mindset now. Like it doesn't have to be accurate. Because I remember at first I was highly upset about the Mandarin. But as time went by and things that wasn't comic book accurate, it was more, I was all like, eh. But like I said, soon as Suicide Squad came out, and I'm like, no, that's not it. Like I was upset about so much. I hate it. Like I hate the DCEU. As much as I love DC, I only like 2 movies out of everything that they put out, and like a half a movie. Like I'm so like, and it's because and it's because the accuracy is not there. And I'm still like, no, this needs to be accurate. That's crazy. I didn't even know. I didn't even think about that.
To go to your point, and we're gonna get into your Moon Knight take. To go into that, what's even funnier is what Kevin Feige will do is this is what he'll do. That's like, all right, you're really underhanded, Kevin. He'll give you something like Iron Man 3, where you're just like, all right, bro, like come on, and then he'll give you Thor Ragnarok, right? Where is that Thor Ragnarok? Yes, but it's also World War Hulk. It's so many different things put together, but you're like, the things he put together, he kind of nailed. So you accept it, right? And then you go, all right, Shang-Chi comes out. All right, I know what the Mandarin's supposed to look like. You sit down, watch the movie, and you're like, did I just accept this? And it's like, I did. This movie was so good. I'm just like, all right, who cares, right? You know, like the Mandarin even makes a joke like, yeah, that's a dish. Like I'm not calling myself the Mandarin. And you're just like, no. Like even I remember saying like, I get why he's going by M'Baku, but I do like to hear the accurate names of these characters. Mm-hmm. But as the movie progresses, I found myself caring less and less that I didn't hear Man-Ape at all. But that's the power of Feige. That's why he's dangerous, man. He's dangerous out here.
Don't let him hear you say that.
I mean, look, he's utterly dangerous. The Spider-Man movie ended with Venom disappearing, right? And now to a normal person, you're just like, well, bro, you had him. Why not just keep him? But then you immediately go, but it's Kevin. He's gonna find a way that it works, and we'll accept it. Like you can only give it
symbiote, right? The symbiote was left the symbiote was left on the bar top.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. I was like, you saw
that in a way that we're like, you know what? We love it. We love it.
Same page, same level.
Yeah, right here. All right, Deuces, what were your thoughts on this series premiere of Moon Knight?
So this is what I realized going into, like I said, into Moon Knight and with this Marvel series is one, like I said, I didn't know much about Moon Knight beforehand. So this is like the new introduction to a character to me. And so with that, the pacing of it was amazing to me because I felt like, you know, like when Shang-Chi came out, although I knew a little more about Shang-Chi than I did Moon Knight, that was a movie. So I you know that there's certain acts is not going to give me the long intro. We're going to get introduced to it. It's going to be a little bit more fast pacing. But I always said, like, when they introduce new characters, I'll be A-okay if it was a whole series with a new introduction. And if you think about it, this is the first really like character lead that's a new character in a show for Marvel. Right. Mm-hmm. And so for that, I'm like, okay. And so that first episode, just everything, getting to learn, just like the getting to see the mystery, getting introduced to the multiple personalities, seeing the transformation and the blackouts. Like I'm all in. And it's, you know, I do like horror. So I do hope that it goes deeper into the horror aspect of it because I'm like, okay, this is going to be all brand new. And so I'm excited to see where it goes. I agree. I wish they would have gave us at least the first 2 episodes because the way that the one ended, I'm just like, oh, already? Because it's like they get like and this is why I love the pacing for a mystery show. You know, if you think about like early Supernatural, since somebody they was just talking about Supernatural. You think about how the show pacing is. They give you the mystery, they go through the whole process of trying to figure it out and everything, and then it builds up to the final act. So, for me, like I said, I'm getting that vibe with this show, but with a Marvel series, right? Like as of right now, like usually with every show that came out, we're like, okay, where does it fall into the timeline? How is it going to go into the storyline? But this one, I'm totally like, yo, all right, let me just see what Moon Knight's about. I'm not even worried about how it's going to fit in with what we've seen with everything previously right now. I really want to know more about this character, so I'm loving it.
Well, I mean, Trayvon, that you'll get the world building. But what I appreciate,
just be honest.
What I appreciate about it is
you gotta give that man a mic.
They've showed you.
I know.
They've shown you that after Endgame, that everyone's off doing their own little thing, and then we're seeing new characters emerge. So we got to see the new characters emerge first before you talk about putting the pieces back together. It's like,
right.
Well, hold on, introduce the pieces first.
You were just talking about him being in London and all that stuff. Like, don't be hypocritical now.
That's what I'm saying. We got to say, Trayvon, it was episode 1, man.
You said he was in where Eternals was at. Like,
he's not on board, guys.
Trayvon, what did you want? So wait, Trayvon, you saying you wanted Moon Knight
in
to
London, where Eternals was at, and all that, right?
Hold on. So you're saying you wanted Moon Knight to open with Blade just riding by on like his motorcycle?
I didn't say that.
Blade's here. Like,
I didn't say that.
It'll get there. It'll get there. Look. I'll say this, Trayvon. It's a lot easier now to look forward to things. Picture the mindset when Iron Man came out, right? And then you're hearing Feige talk about he wants to build up the Avengers, and you're sitting there and you're going, that doesn't even sound possible, right? You're like, how the hell does that even look? And then you get it and you're like, okay, that was crazy. And then you see that he's expanding the world. And you're like, whoa, hold on. Wait a minute, how is this possible? And then Spider-Man enters. And you're like, okay, wait a minute, I got to wrap my head around it. Now we're hearing Moon Knight, X-Men, Fantastic Four, and it's like, it's so much easier to accept it now than it was in 2008.
Ecstasy.
Oh yeah,
that's what you just explained to me.
but see, I think that this is the perfect series. Like, I think this is going to set the precedence for how they introduce like newer characters, because it's like for somebody who is if you are a Marvel fan, you're already all in. The fact that they can give you a character that a lot of people don't know, like it's pretty much like they reset it. It's like, all right, we're going to do the same thing that we did with Iron Man, but we're going to do it in the show. So instead of, and so it's like, but we need to introduce these. So it's like you said, when Iron Man first came out, and then when you heard the ambitions, you were like, wait, what? So it's like now they're going to introduce us to Moon Knight. At some point, you're probably going to, like, especially like for the historians, they're going to have a moment where they're like, okay, I see where it goes. But for just the MCU only fans, probably at some point, season episode 5, episode 6, we'll start seeing glimpses of where this is going to go, and then it's still going to build that ambition. It's still going to build that excitement. Like, oh, okay, I see where this is going to fit in. But it's like, as of like to introduce a new character, I think that the way that they're pacing it is great for that introduction of a new character.
Right. I 100% agree. Like, we'll get it. We know it's coming soon.
Oh yeah.
Right. Like between this and Blade, we know we'll get that answer. Right. Yeah. This isn't like before where it's like, okay, like, when will this get answered? And they kick the can down the road. It'll be answered relatively.
Inevitable, as they say.
Right, exactly. That's what Thanos said, right? He said absolutely. I do know, Blake, the one thing I'm looking for dialogue-wise from Moon Knight is in that 2013 run. It wasn't, I think it was the run before that, but 2013 was my favorite use of the phrase, is when the cop was telling him, like, hey, you're going to go down there and investigate that murder in all white. They'll see you coming from a mile away. And then he kind of just smiles and he's like, that's the whole point. I want them to see me coming, right? We know Batman works from the shadows. He doesn't want you to see him coming. That's not Moon Knight. Moon Knight wants you to see it coming because he feels like you can't stop me anyway. So I don't give a fuck. See me coming. I don't care.
I really want to see that line make it into the show. Oscar said it in a promo for the show, so it makes me think he will. I love the first time he said it, and it was the 2006 run by Charlie Houston.
Right.
There was the guy on the ground after the car crash, and he said, I want you to see me coming because your hand's going to start to tremble. You're going to miss every shot. I'm going to get there and be like, you know who's coming for you. That's why I have the upper hand. Oh,
I'm gonna
If
start.
I
I'm gonna
get that
start.
line in the show.
Icon.
I'm gonna start calling that white Air Force One energy. Everybody always focus on black Air Force One energy. We're gonna change the narrative. White Air Force One energy.
I love it. But yeah, I can't wait to kind of just see how they break this down more. We were talking about Oscar going from Steven to Mark is very talented. But we forget there's going to be a Steven to Mark, Mark to Moon, Moon to Mr. Right? So it's like, is Mr. and Moon different in this adaptation? You know what I'm saying? We don't know. We gotta wait and see. And that's gonna be the fun of it. Because again, like I said,
I want to know if we get Jake Lockley. I want to know if we get Jake Lockley.
That'll be, I tell you, if this season ends with us going to the character and we're like, oh, we're gonna see Steven, we got the happy ending, and then he pulls up in a cab and it's like, what the fuck is happening? And then it just fades to black and we're like,
Another one.
That version, like, what's happening here? So for anyone who doesn't know, the character Jake Lockley is a taxi driver. He is one of the personas, and he's just a taxi driver. Like, you're thinking to yourself, like, oh, and what else? No, simple, just a taxi driver. Like, it's literally that simple. He's just a taxi driver. But as Blake, you know, he does utilize being a taxi driver to find out a lot about the crime in the underworld. But you know,
there's something about how Batman used to be Matches Malone. See, there's a lot of similarities.
That's a deep cut, Joel. Wow, that's a deep cut. So yeah, I can't wait to see how this all plays out. But again, Marvel's done it again. We're a step closer. You know, we're in one episode, we're already talking about Midnight Suns. I know I'm terrified for when we do Miss Marvel, because I know Trevon every episode. Where Captain Marvel at? Where Captain Marvel at? Where Captain Marvel at?
She's gonna be in it. I think she's gonna be in it.
Trayvon's already sitting there right now, like she better be in the intro. She ain't in the intro.
So you know I gotta have my outlandish hot takes. So I got a hot take.
Oh boy.
Here we go. Here we go.
Hot take. Because I didn't know about the taxi driver thing, right? And so this is me stretching, because knowing that they need to find a way to bring Deadpool in. What if his original taxi driver can't make it? His original taxi driver can't make it.
Oh God!
Dupender.
Okay.
No!
Let me just say this.
Yes.
You threw me off because I thought you were setting up something perfect. I thought you were setting up. We get at night. We see a taxi pull up. Right. We see a guy get in it. We don't see the guy because we're seeing it from Jake Lockley's point of view of the guy getting in.
I know what you're doing here.
He pans his mirror up and it's Blade. And then it just fades to black. I thought you were going there.
So Blade would be the Nick Fury of Midnight Suns.
No, everybody has been predicting Blade. And so my thing is, I'm like, all right, well, who would be like the most random? It's like, oh, what? And then I'm like, but who in the MCU, the only person who's been really using taxis has been Deadpool. He's been using Uber. So, like I said, that's where my mind went.
I mean, look, you're not wrong in that respect. He does like his taxis. Yeah. He has a specific love for a specific taxi driver, but no, he does use his taxis. But no, I think we should wrap our head around either Dane Whitman or Blade being the big shock and awe for the end of this season.
You mean it won't be the Hulk?
Look, also Werewolf by Night is a possibility. There's other possibilities.
There are better possibilities, I'll say that.
Jayla pointed out in the
what's good, Jamie?
I was just saying, Jayla pointed out in our group chat that there's like a QR code that you can scan in the episode, and the QR code links to one of the Werewolf by Night comics, I believe.
Oh my God, that's so true. That's a good point. That's a good point.
Jayla did point that out, and I immediately went, I didn't even see a QR code. Like, I didn't even see what it was.
Yeah, if I saw the QR code, I wouldn't think like, oh, that's a scannable thing that I can like look for like extra stuff. I'm like, oh, that's just in the museum, you know?
Right. Yeah, so shouts out to Jayla, because you did make that known to us, and we were all just like, all right, scanning's about to immense right now.
Interesting. Interesting. I wonder if it's a foreshadow.
I mean, it has to be. Werewolf by
I'm
Night.
sure it's here's where Moon Knight first appeared, and get familiar with Werewolf by Night because you'll see him this year too. So.
Yeah, you'll see him this year. Right. So Marvel's got a lot coming. We know She-Hulk is coming. Ignore all you're hearing about She-Hulk not happening because there's Ignore all that. She-Hulk will be coming out this year. What If is this year. Miss Marvel is in a few months.
Guardians of the Galaxy holiday specials this year.
I'm hyped.
Holiday special is
Secret Invasion. Isn't that also this year?
It's rumored to be this year, but it probably
won't. Yeah.
No way. No way.
If I'm being honest, it'll probably come out after the Marvels in February.
Yeah,
it would make the most sense to come out after the Marvels,
right? Because remember, the last time we saw Monica Rambeau, she was going up to meet Fury. So either that'll be answered in the Marvels or that'll be answered in Secret Invasion. Because we do want to know what the hell Fury's been up to this whole time. Right? He's the reason Peter got completely screwed. Like Peter was like, "No, ask Fury," and they're like, "Fury's not here." And he's like, "Damn, like what?"
Then who was I talking to yesterday?
I want Fury to be like on a legit like intergalactic vacation. Like when he comes back, like everybody expecting him to have all this knowledge and stuff done. He's like, "Oh no, I was just checking out the A sector, just trying to see how that was going." Like,
I went to space. I went to the Aruba in space. I was just chilling up there.
I was just chilling. Like I did nothing.
You didn't bring any information. Not a one piece. Not one.
Starship cruise on.
Right. But all right. So I want to give a couple promo shout outs, and then we're gonna get out of here. I want to give a shout out to Blake and Jayla. They just did a podcast reviewing the movie X, the horror movie X that just recently came out. Watch their review, Joel. They really enjoyed it a lot. And it made
I've only heard good things, so I'm excited.
Right. A24 did that, right, Jayla?
Correct.
A24, man. I'm telling you, they're dangerous. They're dangerous out there, dude.
When it comes to horror, they know what they're doing.
They sure do. Them and Blumhouse. Between them and Blumhouse, they are fighting for best horror in the game, and it's like you're right there, man. You're neck and neck. So make sure you check that out. Also, me, Jayla, and Sabrina, along with Tristan, did a top 7 Joker live action. We ranked our favorite actors from 1 to 7. It got different. I will tell you that it got real different.
That's the beauty of it. That's how cool the Joker is. We're gonna get a range.
There were some shocking number ones for sure. When my number one was said, everyone was just like, "All right."
Didge brought it to our group chat. Just by the way.
Yes, Didge too. Yes, Didge too. Didge was in there too. It was a lot of fun. That'll be out tomorrow. Tomorrow I will be dropping that episode tomorrow. Shout out to Blake doing the intro for that episode. So shout out to him.
That was a lot of fun. Yes,
it was
awesome. It's amazing.
We enjoyed it. We can't wait to unveil it. And Deuces, I said it before to Didge. I keep saying I have a friend that was on Forbes list. That's kind of true, right? That's kind of
it's 100% true, man.
Thank you. Yeah. So go ahead, let us know what you got going on and how you made it to Forbes.
Man, thank you. It's still surreal. It was funny because we did our episode Friday. We dropped it out today of just us talking about our journey and everything and kind of just like how we got here. And it still hasn't really hit for everybody that we're doing that we are in Forbes. And it's really like, I don't know. It's just surreal. And one of the things that I love, and this is what we make sure that we highlighted on our podcast, is that like, when we got into this space of doing, being in the blurred space and talking about geek stuff and everything like that, like we didn't know what the term blurred was. And then when we found out what it was, we kind of had this like that moment. And I've been using this analogy since I've been talking about it. You know that moment at the end of Black Panther where that kid looks at T'Challa and he's like, "Who are you?" And then he kind of has that like awakening, like, yo, like this is what it can be. That's how I felt with blurred culture, because it's like we all lived this our whole life. We've been Black nerds within this place. And then when I found what the term was and how prestige it was and how dope it was in the community it was like, yo, I found my tribe, right? So going through that process of being in the culture, being respected in the culture. And then, we wanted to do something for the culture, by the culture. And so, we started just kind of really pushing on like, how can we how can we elevate the culture? How can we do things that make the culture proud? So we started, trying, doing doing interviews and celebrating some of our, our heroes from the past, and celebrating some of our heroes now that are doing it, and highlighting people behind the scene. And then we started just kind of just like trying to make sure that we can push it and elevate it to be something that the culture could be proud of. So with the emergence of the Black Geek documentary that we're working on, that we announced on Forbes, we wanted to, like I said, that's what we wanted to do. Because we know that like in media and how the world portrays the Black nerd is not our true representation of who we are. And so, but again, those heroes from the past, we do also love them, right? It's like there's no knock to Urkel, there's no knock to Carlton. Like we love Kadeem Hardison. Like it's like we love these people, but we also want to show like there's more to who we are. And so we wanted to have a documentary that details that. But it was very important to us that the blurred community loves it. Like they're proud of it as well, right? So when we got Forbes, the one thing that like even more bigger than Forbes putting us in there is the love that we got from people like y'all and people like, all these other podcasts and these cosplayers and people within the blurred community. And I said, this is the first time that I've done something that I really truly felt accepted, like the culture was behind it, like, yo, go, we love it. It's not competition. Like people didn't see us being in Forbes as them as a slight to them, like, dang, we ain't doing what we did. It was all nothing but uplifting. And I was like, see, this is what the culture is about, and this is what we love about that culture. And that's why we said this is a love letter to the culture, because it's like we truly love this. You know what I'm saying? And we love everybody that we interact. We love being on here. Ditch can't stop talking about being on Geek Vibes Nation. You know what I'm saying? Like it's that. It's like we love working and collabing and and doing things like that. So with the Forbes, it's like I said, we were in the Forbes last week. Today, the Black Wall Street Times posted a review about what we're doing and everything. And again, what's so great about that is the Black Wall Street Times is a website in Tulsa, Oklahoma, by the people of Greenwood, by the families and everything. So it's like, yo, there's so much to it, that prestige to it. And again, it's the same thing. It's like Black culture, black people loving seeing us elevate where we're at. So man, like right now, that's the main thing that we're trying to really, really, really promote. It's like we want to continue to do this where we're focusing on funding, but we're focusing on also getting the name out, right? Black Geek documentary. Like I've been telling everybody, I said, look, if you are fortunate enough where you can donate to the GoFundMe, go ahead. But what's also important is sharing, liking, commenting, just like getting it out there. Because I think, like I said, everything that I'm talking about right now is something that we want to put out. But when we do get the funding, and I'm saying because we are going to get the funding, this is going to be something where, like, when we finally put it together and start working on it, we're going to work with all with people in the blur community. So if we can't get you on camera, you may be able to help us out on research, so that way we can make sure we're accurate. We're going to hire a Black photographer. We're filming this in a Black film studio. Our director is Black. When we get time to promote it, we're going to hire a Black marketing and PR firm. I've been working with Pali Arungu, who was also from Black Women's Photographers. So I know that when we do behind the scenes and everything, I'm going to employ somebody from Black Women Photographers directory to make sure that we have a Black woman doing the behind the scenes and getting that first look that we use for promotion. So I'm just excited about this whole process, and I just want to continue to get the word out there so people can understand what we're doing and see how blur community come together as one for just such a dope project. So yeah, geeksetpodcast.com is where you can find everything.
I love it, man. I'll put it in our description. I love that, because look, to grow up being a geek was hard enough. To grow up being a geek of color was even harder. Because it was like, you're reading comics, go throw a football, like go dribble, go play outside, like don't you know what I'm saying? So again, seeing today where no one gets bullied because like they like Spider-Man or Batman or anything like that, you look at it and you're just like, part of you is like, yeah, that's a beautiful thing. Another part is like, one of y'all should get shoved in a locker just for historical value.
I love that we can deep dive, because even if you think about it, back then when we grew up, you can like the base comics. It was when you got deep that people was like were really clowning.
Right.
So if you
they
like
felt offended, like, how dare
right.
you say that name to me? Who is that? It's
right.
like,
You could be like, oh yeah, you know, I like Batman. You know, say Batman cool. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like you can say that, but as soon as you be like, hey, but you know, but really though, if you go into it, Jason Todd is one of the best Robins. Like then that's what they be like, what?
See, what's crazy for me now is like me growing up, like nerds were like somewhat accepted, but it was almost like you kind of had to hide it. Like you had to be like coy about it. And I remember vividly, like these two dudes were clowning on someone for liking Dragon Ball Z. And then they go off in this corner, like, I can't believe they like Goku turning Super Saiyan. Like, oh my God, you know the Piccolo fight? That's so stupid. And oh my God, let's talk about Frieza. That stuff is so dumb. And like, they're just reciting like the whole freaking manga. I'm like, yeah, it's really stupid. So you just had to learn everything. Huh? So it's crazy how much like the acceptance has grown. And I'm really happy for you guys. Super proud.
Thank you.
Absolutely, man. It's another victory. It definitely is. It's another victory for the community. Because it's the awareness that we need. Like you said, Carlton and Urkel defining us.
Yeah.
It isn't horrible, but it's inaccurate. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've never wore suspenders a day in my life. So you know what I'm saying? So it's
here's where I'm really excited too, because most of the a lot of blurs right now, we are owners of our own content. Right. And I was thinking about it. I was like, man, when we do this documentary, man, like we got to get all this like B-roll footage. We got to do this, all this research. And I said, no. I said, it'll be the easiest way. It's just reaching out to the people that we know. You know what I'm saying? It's because you got to think to talk about Blur community, we got to talk about the people that are covering it. So we got to talk about podcasts. We got to talk about, interviewers. We got to talk about people who write, who review. We got to talk about the history, the animation, people who draw and who make all the memes that we see now. So I said, that's our B-roll, licensing out. Like, I hit up Geek 5 Nation, like, hey, we need 5 seconds, just a good 5-second clip of y'all talking about something, and you guys get in that, and then now you guys are attached to the Black Geek documentary. You guys get, get that credit in there, the names in there, and like that's, to me, I'm excited for the credits of this documentary. I cannot wait until I can let people know, like, hey, you in the documentary, because I know how much that's going to be dope. Because, like I said, the reason why we have such an ambitious budget is because we want to make sure that we do this correctly. We don't want to cut any corners. And the people that we got involved behind the scenes right now, they're also like down, like they're like the bar is, remember the hype around The Harder They Fall and how electrifying it was? Yep. That's the bar of what we want to create for blurred culture, though. And so we're like, we want to do that. And so it's like, and everybody's on board. So it's like, all right, we got to, once we get this is how we're going to do it. We're going to make sure that the culture's involved, and it's going to be the start, because we know that this is not going to be the only thing that comes from it, but we would love to be one of the people that help start it, that help the next person, like, oh, this documentary was dope. Now I want to do this type of show. Now I want to do this type of movie based on, like, I want it to elevate, but I want to be able to help that. So that's where we're excited about it.
I love it, man. And if we do make it in that documentary, and when that documentary strikes big, I'm gonna really strut my stuff. I'm buying a mix. I'm gonna be so annoying, man. You won't want to know who I am for those weeks, man. So
I can't take anymore. Don't do it, Juwaan. Don't do it, Deuces. Don't invite him.
Do it.
Look,
invite everybody else.
Right now,
man.
I'm telling you right now. I'm gonna get real black out here. That's what's about to happen.
Go all in.
Oh Lord, what does that mean?
Oh jeez.
Oh Lord.
I'm dripping. That's what that means. I'm gonna get real drippy out here. That's what that means. But no, we are super proud of you, Deuces. Continue to tag us in everything so we can continuously promote, comment. I was talking to Didge about him maybe podcasting with us again Sunday. I think we're gonna do horror Sunday. Do a horror topic. We're trying to do a podcast every Sunday of like a top list of like of topics. So I think we might do horror, because I didn't have enough time to rewatch all the Batman movies to do the Batman animated thing.
You know what's in the making? That one we can work up to.
Yeah, that one's definitely. Oh no, I think we're gonna do that when the Batman comes on HBO Max. We'll do that.
That's right. That's a good idea.
You said you're doing horror?
Yeah.
Here's what you said you're doing a Saturday?
No, Sunday.
Sunday.
Sunday. Hold off on Didge. I'm gonna see if I can get Bacardi on here. Bacardi is our big horror buff.
Okay.
Like Bacardi on our podcast. So you didn't have Didge, you didn't have me. Might as well start working through the whole squad. So I'm gonna see if I can get I'm gonna see if I can get Bacardi on here because he loves horror movies, and I think that'd be dope to get him introduce him to you guys too as well.
Absolutely. Just let me know. Put me in contact, and we'll make that happen. And Trevon, you'll be there, whether you like it or not. Anyway, we want to thank you guys for joining us on the MCU's return. We're very excited, and we're kind of happy because I'm trying to think. Moon Knight 6 weeks. No, so we'll have to take another break before Miss Marvel. It doesn't line exactly up. This will be
Kenobi is going to start before Miss Marvel too.
Say it again.
Kenobi starts before Miss Marvel.
Oh my goodness!
Oh, here we go.
How did you forget? Jayla, no!
I'm so sorry. Yes. Yes.
How dare you?
Look what you did.
Oh my God.
Second most important thing to the Batman this year, Kenobi. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
We have Kenobi. There we go. We have Kenobi. That's true.
That's all I have left now.
I just need Hayden. Once I get Hayden, everything else that comes out, great. No problem.
Yeah, like I'm like, yeah, everyone's like, oh, so I'm like, yeah, it's cool, it's cool. I'm like, give me Hayden. Give me my boy back.
We're good. But no, so I want to give a shout out to Blake, Sabrina, and Jayla. It's your first time. You've been on MCR before, right? I think so. No. GVN Talk. So this is your first time being a part of the MCR.
Yeah, I'm Deuces, not Didge. I know we're brothers.
Sorry, Deuces.
Well, no, you know what's funny? When y'all kept on saying MCR, I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, should I know this? I feel like I should know this. But me being smart, I just went to y'all YouTube channel and went to the playlist, and I figured it out.
Look at that. Deuces, sorry, this is your first time being on the MCR.
Yes, it is.
Jayla, Blake, Sabrina, your first time also. I always say I hope we didn't run you guys off. I hope you
Never.
It was a
no, you're stuck with us. You stuck with us.
Sounds good to me. Sounds good. I've been trying to get rid of AJ for 4 years now. So
oh my God.
I'm not good at it.
I just like manifest and slap you.
He's gonna hear this and be like, hey!
Yeah, no, you know what? At this point, I think AJ just senses it when I'm about to make fun of him, and like he's just like, nope, that's Juwaan just talking shit about me again. Like I knew
There we go again.
It has to be per podcast. That's actually in this contract. But again, Joel, Trevon, Jamie, want to thank you also. Obviously, Patches and Tia. We had a great episode. I cannot wait for next week's episode to talk about that. Make sure you guys stay tuned for GVN Talk this Friday. We're obviously going to give Tristan and AJ a chance to give their thoughts on Moon Knight, but we're also going to break down episode 2 of Halo. So stay tuned for that, because that's going to be a lot of fun. I know everyone keeps forgetting. Poor Halo. Like every week.
I didn't forget it.
Going on.
I love the first episode with that.
No, I'm with you. I did too, but I think sometimes people forget because it comes out on another obscure day. Like coming out on a Thursday is weird. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like I can barely remember Bel Air comes out on Thursday.
Right, it's the finale too. It's the finale.
Oh my! I literally just watched the episode that came out last week yesterday.
Yeah,
so fast.
Wow.
And I forgot to plug 2 things. I do apologize.
Yeah, go ahead.
On our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Geekset Podcast, I interviewed Jordan L. Jones, who plays Jazz in Bel Air. That was such a dope interview.
Yo. Important question: is he single?
Yes, he is.
Okay. I'll talk to you later.
And then our most recent episode, I interviewed Abu Salim, aka Father in Raised by Wolves. And this is what I really loved. Oh, cool. I introduced him to blurred culture. Like on air, you hear me tell him what it is, and that moment that I told you guys about, like in Black Panther, you literally see him have that moment and accept what blurred culture is and get so excited. It's such a precious moment. And so go to youtube.com/Geekset Podcast. Check out those 2 interviews, man. Those interviews was really dope.
I'll update our description either tonight or first thing tomorrow. I'll put that information in. So I got you. All right, guys. So you got a lot of content to look forward to. Obviously, this Friday for GVN Talk. This Sunday, we're going to be doing horror movies. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. I cannot wait to go through my horror movie rewatch this weekend and perfect my list. But yeah, so thank you guys. And I did actually, Sabrina, because you yelled at me about Batman Mask of the Phantasm being too low. So I did rewatch it.
Yeah.
And it is higher. But it's not as high as you would want it to be. But it is way higher than I had it the last time we talked.
Is it top 5?
No.
It's at least top 10.
Right at 6. It's right at 6.
Oh, okay. 6 is fine. 6 is
What? All right, now I gotta know your top 5, because what?
Yeah, I rewatched it. I was just like, damn, this is slapping. I was like, I like this. And then I was like, all right, now I gotta watch what my top 5 was again. So it's at 6 till I give my top 5 a rewatch, and then maybe I'll move it up. But right now,
Okay.
it's definitely at 6 because it's definitely better than whatever 7, 8, 9, 10 is. I can tell you that for sure. So that's what.
Listen, it's just as long as it makes it back in the top 5, we're good. Because like right now, I'm like,
I'll try. I'm gonna be honest. It's gonna be hard because the new 52 Batman is probably the 5. I loved it so much. It's probably
okay, that's true. All right, that's definitely my top 5, but I get it. Okay.
each one of those were like better than the last. I'm like, God damn, you're just slapping on all of these.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that list, and that'll be.
Yeah, we'll one day do that, and then like you could see.
Yeah, and I'll try my best not to have Joel on there so he doesn't judge me. It's better if he doesn't.
I'll judge it after. That's fine.
It's what'll keep our friendship strong. Is if he
Listen, I don't know. You afraid of him? I don't know. You should be afraid of me because I'm already a little salty about Master Phantasm being that low.
I will say you are nowhere near as judgmental as Joel is when I say crazy things. So to me,
because I like you right now.
Joel does not like me
Right
today.
now.
Right now.
I'm kidding. No, but I'm very actually personally attacked by the fact that Master Phantasm is not in top 5.
So
Yeah,
am
I mean,
trust
when
me.
I said I had it in top 10 and you were like, top 10, like you made it sound like it's low. And I'm like, all right, let me go rewatch it. I'm like, yeah, you were right. It shouldn't be like low. It should definitely be a lot higher.
The score alone should put it in top 5. It's insane.
It's hard to disagree with any of that.
I mean, listen,
I'm with
I'll even take a step further. It should be top 3 at least. Top 3.
All right, well, I'll do my rewatch and let you guys know. But again, stay tuned for our Joker podcast dropping tomorrow. All hail Jared Leto. Anyway, thank you guys, and until next time, peace.